right. That's right. What's up, man? How you doing this evening?
Good, dude. I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
My throat's a little scratchy, dude. All this, pollen in the air. I'm glad we got the rain today. That was nothing better to start off your podcast than a little weather talk, right? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, that's where we were hearing that doubling effect. All right.
That's what it was, huh?
We were hearing both.
Well, we got a pretty fun one today, don't you think?
Yeah, man. We've got Chrissy and Marie from Alt Pop Repeat, you guys.
Hey,
How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing
We're
great.
doing really, really good. Yeah, you guys reached out to us and or tagged us in a little Instagram post, and we decided, hey, we're gonna reach out to them. They did some pretty cool stuff. I'm sure that would be a neat little conversation to have, right, dude?
Yeah, I mean, like, y'all have had so many awesome guests, including Jeremy Corbell, Tommy Chong, DMC of Run DMC, and
Yeah.
Coolio. Come on.
I know Coolio.
Booyakasha.
I'm like, what happened to Coolio?
We found him and he was on
Yeah.
our show.
Yeah, exactly. That's where Coolio. It's like Waldo, but Coolio style.
That's so awesome.
Where was he hiding?
He was hiding in his house cooking, apparently, like doing Coolio things. He still has the same hairstyle. He's still like very Coolio-esque.
Yes.
So he hasn't changed much from what I've noticed from what we've seen him in like in the
Yes.
earlier 90s and stuff like that.
That's
exactly
super
what we
awesome.
know of Coolio based upon our, obviously in-depth knowledge of Coolio our entire lives through his music. He hasn't changed a whole lot. Still a great guy.
He seems like it. He seems, I actually saw him, man, it was probably like 2 years ago. There was this I Love the 90s concert, and it was insane. It was like Coolio and Salt and Pepper and Vanilla Ice and like Cisco. Dude, it was insane.
I saw the same concert, but I saw it in Toronto, and mine was Vanilla Ice, Salt and Pepper. Who else opened for it? Was it Biz Markie?
Kid and Play,
It was
right?
A lot of people, yeah. But
Yeah.
I must have been to Toronto. But it was a great show. I didn't see Coolio. He wasn't there, unfortunately.
Oh man, yeah, he was there at that one in like Two Live Crew. That was insane. Getting to see all those people all at one time. That's super cool.
Yeah, seriously. So, I mean, you guys, your show is awesome. You guys kind of run the gambit. Everything from, well, your tagline is taking counterculture, alternative culture, and syncing it up with pop culture. I think that's like just such a smart approach because it really touches everything. So many people are paying attention to what other people are saying. I mean, that's like such a dumb statement, but I wanted to bring you guys on to see what you guys think about how aliens and UFOs have affected culture from, I mean, the get-go. We could start whenever. So what's your opinion on that? And yeah, like, what's your opinion?
We could start at the very beginning. Like Chrissy and I have like this thing that we do where we kind of explore a topic from the beginning until now, and we kind of take a look at where it popped through. So by far, Chrissy is the underlying UFO expert. Like she was called today. What is the Oprah of outer space?
What?
What?
I know. I work with the Debrief. I'm a contributor, and I do their public relations and director of media. And we did an interview with Ralph Blumenthal today, and then someone said that I was the space Oprah, and I was like, "That's
cool.
amazing!"
Yeah.
I was like, "I love that." Like, I will totally take that title. It's not really 100% probably true, but it's fun to play along.
That is awesome. That's better than what anybody's ever called me, man.
They called you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, most people call Joe either Tommy Chong, so I've got a bunch of questions for you guys about that.
Yeah, people just call me Hungry.
That's not bad. Hungry is
it's
always
okay.
a good thing to be.
All right. But if we go back to UFOs, it's kind of like this interesting topic because if you go far, far back in time, the concept of alien invasions wasn't really something that existed in the way that we know it today. I mean, let's look aside what was happening, in terms of monoliths and, hieroglyphics and documenting. But let's talk about pop culture in terms of 1700s and whatnot. Whenever we were dealing with aliens, it was usually a way to interpret war. amongst different communities. So it'd be, say, Italy, for example, wanted to try and explain the ravages of wars to people who didn't necessarily, they weren't part of the intelligentsia. They would distill it down into these tales, and they would use this extraterrestrial alien threat as a way to kind of distill it down as a way that was completely frightening to people. And that kind of laid the foundation of science sci-fi that we know today. But that is not necessarily in terms of like what Chrissy it sits in. Like, Chrissy, you can probably go on from there.
It's really like pushing toward folklore, which like isn't like based totally in history.
Right.
But from my side, like I look at, you know, like our catalyst moments, sync moments, like we like to call it in pop culture, are, you know, like Ralph Blumenthal, like, you know, Leslie Kean, 2017, you know, New York Times coming out with those articles, like insane. You know, we have Lou Elizondo, you know, Jeremy Corbell is one of them with his, you know, oh my gosh, Bob Lazar at Area 51. Oh my God, Area 51.
You got it.
James Saucers and Bob Lazar. But Jeremy's going to kill me. He's like, Chrissy, you just butchered the title.
It's a long
Don't worry. You're safe. You're in Canada. I don't think anyone's going to cross the border into United Nations of COVID right now. So
Seriously.
We're safe.
Seriously. Along with them, like, you know, Radio Area 51, like all of those moments, I would say Leslie Kean and, you know, Ralph Blumenthal, the more that I think about it, you know, really those catalyst moments for mainstream pop culture to move over to where we are now, where like mass media is picking up, like CNN, Fox, you know, like everybody, you know, Gabby from Schwartz from like NBC, like you name it are down those rabbit holes now. And it's really lovely to see.
Yeah.
So that's the area and place I play in, you know, in that side, and watching how mainstream picks it up and decides to tell what narrative, and then who out of our key people within the ufology community are telling that narrative that really is going to be history at some point.
Totally. So Chrissy is more on the factual, this is what is, and then I'm more on that like fictional, how did we become enamored with the idea of aliens, which I do think that there's an intersect between these two places, because one really conditions a group of people to, and I learned this also from Chrissy about the idea of the disclosure, but one really conditions large masses of people to kind of consider this idea as a possibility, to explore it within the realms of their imagination. So as time goes on and we're able to go through, say, the 50s and so on, whenever there's actually accounts of people sharing live testimonials of their experiences with unexplained phenomenon, they already have a sense of what this might be in the back of their head. And there is a sense that it could potentially be a plausible, real thing.
Yes. Love that. So kind of two different perspectives. They bleed into each other in a way. So I feel like do you think it's come full circle where you mentioned that in order to get the idea of war and the fear of the other, of this all-powerful adversary, the way that the ancients used to get it across was through folklore and paintings and myths and things like that. Do you think that it started there, went very granular, and now we're back to the myth and legend and spouting this fear? I'm really interested in, what do you guys think about, is that happening right now? Is there a narrative that's being controlled in some way or another to make us kind of scared?
Yeah, that fear narrative is really strong, but it also depends on who you're listening to in the community, right? Mm-hmm. Who's telling it. If you're working in government intelligence, Lou Elizondo has a really, really strong fear narrative right now. Yeah. And I would say not fear, just threat narrative. I'm not going to say fear because love Lou and love what he's doing. Yeah. And like for him, there's threat. And I guess it depends on how you use the word threat too. Like I talked to Nick Pope about this and I said to him, in UK, like when you're using that word threat in lexicons throughout the government, how are you identifying with that? And why are you using words like threat? And he said, because Americans in the UK work really close together when it comes to space programs and just alliances and stuff that we do. And so he just said, he's like, threat is a word that they decide to use because it's the most reasonable word for them, right? And it's something that they can identify and it's part of their lexicon. But I think for us, when we hear, and they're used to using it, for when we hear the word threat, we're like, what? Like, we like freaking freak. Yeah. And we like, what do we do? Like, what's going to happen? Like, what does that, I know, what does that mean? Like, we like lose our mind as people and we're like, what? So when I talked to him a little bit more about it, I understood the concept of why they have threat, and why government has threat now, because I used to think the same thing. And now that I'm asking so many people in intelligence about their lexicon, I'm learning, or just people that have worked for different governments, why they use these things. So I still think there is a very large threat, like there is a threat narrative happening. But I think that it might be misunderstood at some times.
Do you ever think that maybe, because that is a very real thing. But what about people who err on the side of religion, who might consider that otherworldly entities might be a part of their faith system? Because if we go back and I know part of the question was just referencing back the really early accounts of, I always feel like it's derogatory when I say alien, but for lack of a better word, because it's not necessarily my world. But whenever we're looking at alien phenomenon, you have stories like there's one of my favorites. If anybody likes watching anime, Studio Ghibli does a very beautiful account of this very famous Japanese folklore. It's a 10th century Japanese narrative called The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. And it's one of the earliest accounts of otherworldly narratives where they depict Buddha and his disciples as being people who live of the moon. And they're a completely different population. They have nothing to do with anyone on Earth, but they are religious entities that people on Earth worship. And in turn, those on the moon kind of like, we have the best life ever. We don't ever need to go to Earth. Anyway, it's a beautiful story. You should watch it. I don't want to ruin it. It's fantastic. But it's still one of the earliest narratives that say that they're in the stars. It's not just saying they're from the heavens. It's actually locating a place in the sky and say that people live there and they're more powerful, they're more intelligent, and they're more creative, and they're benevolent, and we worship them as a part of our belief structure.
Yeah, I've always found that the interesting cross between like the religious aspect and then just like, are these like aliens? It's a weird thing to think that like, hey, maybe we set out to find extraterrestrials, and in our search to find extraterrestrials, we actually stumbled upon a little bit more than what we thought. And now that we found what this little bit more is, it's kind of like, okay, now we're trying to pull this all apart. Like, is it just extraterrestrials, or is this, something that religions have literally been made and based off of? And is there a separation there? Is there, did we just find this whole new category of like dimension or realm or something, and now there's all these characters living in this place, and we're trying to decipher which characters go where and who's who and what do they do,
Yeah, right. I mean, Chrissy, like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it just depends on, again, like who you follow. Like if you're following Zachariah Stitchin, in his work, he lends we all know Ancient Aliens, stems from his work. So if you're following Zachariah Stitchin, you fall into folklore very easily, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And to be honest, like working with the debrief and so many different people in ufology now, on even in like the past year, Marie and I starting doing our podcast, and then me jumping in with the guys there, it's been like a wormhole of different information that's come at me. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm filtering through all of it in my brain, and hearing some of the skeptic sides too has been like really interesting about some people that don't believe in Zachariah Stitchin's, philosophies around ancient aliens. And they're really compelling. They are. It doesn't mean I believe everything, but I'm kind of taking it in, because for sure there are a lot of things that are controlling a narrative right now. And like, I'll go back in Zachariah Stitchin, if he was still around, he would probably be like clapping right now, because his narrative is so strong in the mainstream without people really even using his name. Yes. Right? He's like, I did it. Like he's so happy right now. Right. So when I listen to that, and like he's ruling with ancient aliens in that theory. So at some point, the mainstream's going to switch, and there's a very strong hold on folklore right now, and soon it's going to switch, and it's going to start to move hopefully towards more tech and science, and then tech and science proving what these phenomenons are in all different categories. So maybe some things that Zachariah Sitchin said were true, and some won't be. So I think we're in like a really, really cool time now where we're going to see where science might prove folklore or his forms of other history, and then back up what we're seeing and being able to explain it in like scientific terms. And like, I hope that happens in the next decade, because I don't want to be 70 when that happens. I want to be young and I want to be able to comprehend it and like talk about it and everything else, because I think we're living in a really cool moment right now. In an era, if anything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I hope it happens like, within the decade too.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath or anything, but I really hope that it does too. It'd be nice just to get some answers, whenever you dive into you just look at the UFO community or like the UFO topic on the outside. If it's something that you're not interested in, you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, there's like some flying discs, like whatever. It's UFOs. They're your typical, thought of whatever that is. But then when you start getting into it, you're like, wow, there is so many avenues. And like people, like if you were to get into it, it's so easy to see how people can get lost, because it's like there's so much to it.
Right.
There's so much. There's so many people and so much information. It's all different, and everybody's trying to prove why their theory is possibly correct. It's so tough.
Totally. And I giggle too, because like I hear on the outside, because again, like I sit on a very different space because I'm always like matching stuff up, but I'm like. Yeah. To the idea of having science and technology try and credit or validate folklore ideas, it makes me giggle a little, because that has been the pursuit, I think, of for early scientists and religion. Like it's a narrative that seems to repeat quite often. Also, the plot line of the Da Vinci Code. So
yes.
So
it is.
I mean, this is the ongoing narrative. This is the challenge of humanity, is to try and prove what the eye can't see. And we've been doing this for, I think, since the beginning of time. We tried to do it with religion. We're constantly, now we have technology to do it, and now we're trying to do it with all these other pieces. But sometimes I wonder, like, why is the information that's coming out right now about UFOs, why is there so much of it? We didn't hear anything for so many years, and it was so suppressed and people were shamed for it. So why is it now coming out? Why are people interested in hearing about it? And is this like just the public population is ready, or is this a part of a wag the dog situation, that things are just melting down? Like, look at the world that we're living in. The world is melting down around us. We're living through a pandemic. We've had, some would say, arguably, I probably wouldn't disagree with them, that the United States dealt with 4 years of one of the worst presidents in history. So there's a lot of, difficult things that are out there. So is this the one thing where they're like, okay, well, let's start releasing more information about UFOs out there and distract people from other things that are going on?
Yeah.
Definitely a distraction. I feel that. But on the flip side, like just the people that are attaching themselves to it or actually paying attention, it's crazy. Like normally something will come out and everybody will talk about it, but like even with the UFO stuff, it comes out, it'll be on the news, it pops out on Facebook, and it's still like not like a very popular topic yet. But yeah, it's definitely bubbling, it's boiling to that point, because there's more and more. It just doesn't have the same taste as somebody getting shot or some crazy disease. It doesn't have that sweet nectar to the story yet. So yeah, we got to figure something out. But
I feel like this the reason why I think we all have to admit that this subject is important to culture, and what I boil culture down to, and I'd love to hear y'all's perspective on this, is culture is kind of the processor for consciousness. And these, entities or aliens and all these higher than self kind of ideas have all been catalysts. And whatever the universe is doing, they're kind of showing themselves and not really manifesting in maybe physical ways. Some people would contradict that with stories of abductions and things like that, and being spoken to by God and actually hearing them. But yeah, I feel like it's a game that the universe is playing to catalyst ideas to further some type of river or path. And I definitely think it's being led in some way. But I think we all have to agree, like, yeah, this subject is probably one of the most important subjects for culture to process. What do you guys think?
All of human history.
Yeah.
100%. The funny thing with UFOs, and it's interesting when we look at culture from like the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even the early 30s and 40s. When we first saw, a UFO, we look at the Macmillan UFO, right? And that was in 1950. And that was the first like photo that was like a flying saucer, and it was like a disc shape, and Kenneth Arnold, coined it as the flying saucer. And that was the first name for it. And then we moved into, later on, we start getting into triangular UFOs, as we progress. And then we get into orbs, and now we're getting into pyramids. So the funny thing is that throughout culture, there has been this, and also during specific times that we've seen things. The Cold War was a huge time with UFO sightings, obviously, and reasons why for that. Robert Salas, for example, working in UFOs, turning on and off nuclear weapons and missiles. So all of that stuff that we've seen during that time, people say, for looking at in just a very much not like in a phenomenon way of like paranormal, but if you look at it in a cultural context, it's a reflection of us. Are we projecting what we see based on objects and images as we evolve as humans, as a species? And is that a conscious thing that we're doing it? Because we don't see as many disc-shaped UFOs that we did earlier, and now we're seeing orbs everywhere, and and pyramid UFOs. So it's really interesting when we watch that progression. And I really wonder, is it and what we feel projecting off and what we want to see as a culture based on then what we're actually viewing? So I don't know. And after I've read a lot of different sightings and a lot of different work from different ufologists, I lean more to the side of projection, because we just don't really understand our ability of consciousness either. And that has to have something to do with it. I would imagine. I'm not an expert. I'm not a psychologist, but I would imagine it has something going on there.
So when you're saying projection, that is it just that it's a collective group of people that have the same idea, and then their collective energy is creating something? Or is it that they see something unexplained in the sky and then they want it to be that, therefore they see that?
Yeah, like they say that, right. So what they say is that someone sees, so UFO is spotted, and then what happens in mainstream culture is that somebody sees a UFO, and then after, popular culture then hypes it up and then makes movies around it, and then somebody else then sees it after, and everyone's like, oh, I saw that too. And then by seeing it and then looking at the mass media that's populated on it, it reconfirms that person, and then it keeps going in a circle. So it's like, sighting, and then pop culture defines it, makes it big. Remember like the 50s and UFOs and aliens? Like they were so crazy. And I love the 50s and alien times and like robots and all this. It was fabulous. Yes. So like that's what that cycle does in pop culture that we noticed in culture in general. But maybe if it is a projection of what we're thinking or feeling and current moments of that time, and then the ability of things that we've seen, like, because the spheres were really like disc shaped. They look like plates. During like the Macmillan image is like, it's literally like a telephone pole. It almost looks like, over a barn. It's like someone threw a disc.
Yeah.
It's so basic. And so as we grow, these images start getting more elaborate. Like now they're orbs, like they're floating orbs and doing crazy stuff, and other pyramids. Like it's amazing and it's wild. But yeah, is it a reflection of us? And then like our ability of, growing as a culture too, right? And what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also like to hear the flip side of that, which projection, if you were to take it from a perspective of that we're manifesting this stuff, and it's a collective consciousness, and we're making this stuff happen with that same feed loop that you mentioned about saying, well, maybe, that one time somebody did see some crazy shit.
I think it's a little bit of both. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with a little bit of both, for sure.
Because you look at like Skinwalker Ranch, like
Mm.
that's just wild. So
Yeah.
like even outside because the UFOs are attached to it, but whatever's going on there, like that's another conversation on its own that I'm surprised the mass media, maybe it's a good thing that they haven't fully picked up on that yet. Because it's scary in many ways.
Yeah.
Wolves,
But
man.
that's like, right, like that's another conversation of like UFOs attached to it and like what's going on and things that people are seeing there that are so, it's insane the stuff that they're seeing there and documenting.
Yeah. Have either one of you ever had an interesting sighting?
No, not really. Like I had the closest thing I got was when I was little, I used to have visitations from like beings, but whenever you're a kid and then things happen and you question it, you're like, oh, I remember this. It's so vivid and it happened so repeatedly that it's is it like, was it a product? Did I manifest it? That was it a project of my imagination or did that happen? And it's interesting because as I got older, Chrissy and I were in a clubhouse room and there's another woman that was talking and she was explaining something very similar. So it was basically like benevolent white beings who basically like we just hung out. Like they would
Wow.
like pick me up and in my memory was they pick me up out of my bed, would go downstairs and I would in the dining room and then I'd be surrounded by them. And it was just a peaceful, calm, like coming of home existence. And I felt in those moments that was given like, direction and wisdom of the things that I needed to do in my life. And that's why I always gravitated towards communication and talking. I always had a fascination with the universe and stars. Like I have a huge collection of astronomy books and telescopes and all of that stuff from when I was little. And also my brother-in-law, my cousin is a professor. He's an astrophysicist and he had a conflicting theory to Stephen Hawking's for a while. So that was fun because we got to hear about their fights.
Whoa,
Oh, that's interesting.
That's cool.
So and that's it. So it's like I've always had like this one kind of mystical piece to it, plus the whole, growing up in a very like book smart, scientific family that was like, okay, she's really interested in stars. So we're going to try and nurture that. But I also, just fun fact, when I was in university, I also failed my astronomy class. So yeah, I can't tell you what the circumference of the sun is. But I can tell you other random facts about the universe. But that's me.
Who remembers that? That's
Nobody
something.
needs to
That's
know
a
that.
huge number, man. Jeez.
Yes, man. That's really interesting. That encounter of the white beings.
Yeah.
And just being in the middle of them and having that feeling. You hear a lot of stories like that, especially as a kid. Not all of them are that nice. But how do you think, if you had an encounter today in the same way, how do you think you would feel about it as an adult?
Oh, well, I think that also, like Chrissy knows me too. Like I'm pretty much, I love witchy hippie things. So if I had that experience now, I think I would be down for it. The thing
would you
about that
go?
is that it was benevolent. Like the idea of threatening a threat is something that's a bit foreign to me and it's hard for me to get my head around. But I also don't really understand like what was that? What
Right.
was that? Was that I've gone to some spiritual healers and they allege that might have been a Palladian ancestry. And that was a connection to that. And so there's all these like little theories and everything. But the part that I find most validating is hearing other people and actually having conversations with other people who have had a similar type experience. Just like it was just a part of life. It
Right.
just set me up kind of like, and it only happened for a short period.
Yeah.
Probably until it was like 4 until 6, probably in that age range. And then
Very
it just set me
interesting.
up. And
Very.
at that point I was like, okay, perform, speak, write, create, let's do this.
Wow.
But
That's
it's
cool.
but it's not even close. Like it's not even, I just got mine out of the way because mine is like the little throwaway story because I don't have anything glamorous.
No, that's great though. I mean, the childhood interaction is such a interesting part to this whole thing because a lot of people a lot of people don't remember childhood interactions. And then it happens to them later in life, and they are not happy about it. It's really tough. And then as they start to be more and more open to the idea and start adjusting to it, they have all these memories that flood back to them from when they were kids. And that's just another level of that PTSD. So, yeah, I mean, if something were to possibly happen to you in the future, you know, if you ever had another contact, maybe that would definitely help. I mean, you know, like Vivian Chavette, she was a young child who is basically terminally ill. She was about to die. The doctor said that there was nothing they could do for her. And she said that she was surrounded by light beings, and they actually took her and took her soul or consciousness with them and incarnated her with an Arcturian. And she's actually like an Arcturian hybrid. And dude, I mean, I don't know what it is about her, but there's definitely something special.
Some energy, man.
There's an energy connection that she can make with you that's just absolutely off the charts. It's incredible. And like Samantha Mowat is the same way.
Yeah.
She had interactions as a child, and she just grew up with it. I mean, she still gets taken to this day. Hybrid programs. I mean, and she's totally at peace with the whole thing. She's okay with it. She seems to understand it, her soul contracts and all that other stuff. So, you know, the childhood interaction is pretty fascinating. It's one of the more interesting parts to this whole thing, especially with the screen memories and the things that they let you see. Terry Lovelace and his monkeys and, you know, his cousin and the clowns. Like, it's so interesting how they appear to children.
And the aerial school event is like such a big one in Zimbabwe.
Right,
you know,
right.
60 kids, you know, and this craft coming down and something coming out of it wearing like a black bodysuit or something.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's Madonna.
Sexy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's such a fascinating story. I find that, you know, out of all of them, you know, the one I always find, obviously Travis Walton is such a great story too. Betty and Barney Hill, like the classics,
right?
You know, just the classic abduction stories, but the Zimbabwe ones with just the encounters to me is just wild, because like that's the biggest mass sighting ever. 60 kids in one time saw this, and they were like not even like an arm length away from whatever it was. You know, it's very wild. And I don't know if that's a mass hallucination. Like, it's just, there's actually a movie coming out with that. And I think James Fox is attached to it, or it has something related to it. And it's coming out, I think, this year or next year. Yeah.
Was it not The Phenomenon? Is that
no? It's a new one.
The aerial school event.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think James Fox might be attached to it, or he knows something about it. But or his group of people that he's been working with are attached to it too. Don't quote me on that, but
right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the aerial school event. I think that doc's gonna be wild.
That's gonna be sick.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you think like with this topic, you know, as y'all get, you know, deeper into it, and you start to see like, man, there's so much to this. Do you foresee that being so like in like modern like pop culture, when you're thinking about aliens, you know, you got the green blow up doll aliens, you got the flying saucer stuff, you know, it's kind of hokey, like the kind of culture that surrounds it. If you go to like, you know, conferences or whatever, you'll see all these carnival type items that are for sale. Like, it's a little cheesy.
The googly eyes.
Like I'll give it that. It's a little cheesy. Do you think that the struggle that this has had moving into like, you know, pop culture and like mainstream culture is the fact that there's just so much to it? It's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah, the history around ufology is vast.
It's massive.
Someone asked me once in an interview, it was Ryan Sprague, asked me, Chrissy, if you had to, you know, do disclosure, what would it be? And I kind of say this in a pop culture form of it. I said, the two first things I would do. I said, first of all, it was like, if I'm working for the government or the people, you got to let me know.
Yes.
And I said, if I was working for the government and wanted to be honest and truthful about disclosure properly, I said, the first thing I would do would be to tell everybody that they can believe in anything that they want still. You know, just because UFOs exist doesn't mean that you have to stop believing in, you know, God or believing in anything that's related to your culture. Like, you can still do that.
Yeah.
And then the second part would be like making a massive book of all major UFO events from beginning to end, like exactly like this massive encyclopedia of like around the world of like from like government documents, maybe we do it by countries, and then giving it to each journalist and getting journalists to sit down and be able to read it, or finding communicators and groups of people in the community, because there's so many of us in this community that do multiple jobs, and like sitting down with specific journalists and saying like, here are the fundamental things that you want to know that will help you understand the beginning of like ufology to where we are now, and then how do you properly report that to people, because that's the issue that we're having now within the community, is that we don't have people that are really telling other journalists, or journalists are having a hard time understanding so much because someone gives them, and if they're not somebody that's been covering it for so long, right, and or have interest in it, you kind of just get a report, and if someone's saying to you, hey, go cover this, they're like, what? And they're like probably going to go in and be like, okay, and then they open up and it's like a library of content, and they're like, where do I start? So helping journalists figure out what that is, along with producers. So many producers and directors just jump into this field. Not Jeremy Corbell, he's totally different outside of that, but just other ones that are making stuff for like different networks, and they just jump in not really understanding everything and not having a really vast knowledge around it. So I think that's where I would start, so then we can kind of shape pop culture in a proper way, so it's not so like kitschy, and it's not just like green aliens and like tinfoil hats and stuff like that.
It's
but
crazy.
The green aliens are pretty cute though.
Yeah. Have y'all seen Resident Alien, that new show? I believe it was on ABC.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, Sci-Fi Channel. Thank you. Yeah, way different. So, man, it's such a great show. I mean, I love the show.
It's hilarious.
But there is one scene it's at the very end, I think, of season 2, or I forget. It's been a couple weeks. A terrible memory. But there's a scene where they go to a conference, like a UFO conference. Have you guys been to a conference, by the way?
I have, yeah. Okay. I go to the UFO Congress in Arizona. I used to go yearly for a while. I haven't been in the past like 2 years. Well, maybe 3 years now because of COVID, but
yeah. We went to last year. It was, or 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago.
But so that it's not portrayed like not everybody's dressed up as an alien. Like that's the wrong thing to do. Like you don't.
Wait, do people do that?
No. Yeah. Well, it depends on which conference you're going to though.
Really? So that's just not
the Roswell one. There's a parade. If you go to the Roswell, I haven't been to the Roswell, but there's a parade I think on the weekend, and then people dress up into multiple things. Oh. But that one is I think a little more kitschy in Roswell than it is in Arizona or like Contact in the Desert. They're a little more academic. I mean, they try to be academic.
Yeah, like the parade, cool. Like that shouldn't last long. It's not like a weekend event. I mean, in this show, they portray this whole conference as like everybody, even sitting in the audience, is like in costume and like wearing a mask. And like it's so cheesy, dude. They're really. I know it's a TV show and they try to saturate everything, every little detail. But I just, it got me thinking about this etiquette. And I think that's what we're all talking about right now. It's like manners. It's an etiquette. And if you don't really know, it's not really that person's fault that they treat it that way. I mean, that's something that I hate about, this the field is like you were saying, Chrissy, like if you just throw somebody in that's a news anchor, they're going to be like, well, because everybody else is saying, well, green little man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that, I guess not their fault technically, but yeah, I think we're starting to see this change in etiquette, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope so. I hope there will be more, but I think it's coming with understanding. Joe Rogan's a big one for that too. Just outside of, like really academic journalists and investigative journalists that do great work, like Joe Rogan is the forefront of pushing a lot of ideology that's helping and then explaining, like bringing on, Jacques Vallée and like bringing on all these amazing people to talk about it in an academic sense. So it's opening up at least, 9 million people in his podcast to follow him.
That's it.
Like, exactly. That's it. I'm like he's helping to open up their minds and look at it in a different way. And I think the cool thing about Joe Rogan, is that he's got all these different people. So people follow him for MMA, but then he'll like open their mind about, from anything from like ayahuasca down to like, UFOs to you name it, to different types of science. So we even talked to like in one of our podcasts, one of his guys, Bradley Garrett, we talked about preppers. with him, like all these different topics that are really on the fringe that he's bringing to the forefront and that are really cool. And so you get like these group of people that were like, yeah, keep going, Joe, like keep championing that fringe stuff, because more of us want to know. And we also want to know the reason why. Like I want to hear scientists talk in a conversation style way more than I'd want to watch them in A&E personally.
Yeah. You also want like a balance. Like I want to hear the crazy story, but then I also want some science. Like that's good. That's always good.
Yeah.
To back
I love when he has Elon Musk on. It's like, it's my favorite. Like
yes.
You gotta live for that. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
I have opinions. It's funny because somebody wrote something on Twitter the other day about how Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos want to go and colonize space and try and save humanity there. And they're like, well, why won't you just try and do it here and pay people in your factories fair wages? Why don't you just start at home first and then focus outwards? And I was like, I kind of get that. Yeah. It's like, I understand. However, I do understand the economic benefit of making to space and then having the income, having the imagination, having the technology in order to mine for water out of the moon. That freaks me out. Whenever I found out that they can mine for water out of the moon.
Yeah.
What? Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's water in the moon, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When did this happen?
I know,
last year?
Yeah, late last year, early this year. Yeah, they announced it was like either early January or late December. Yeah.
Wow, I'm behind on my moon news.
Yeah, you're behind on your moon. I'll tell you about the moon. You can watch the Studio Ghibli's, The Legend of the Bamboo Cutter, and then I think it's actually named The Princess Kurigami. Anyway, it's beautiful. You should watch it. And I'll tell you about the water on the moon. But that freaks me out. So there's a lot of money to be made on outer space. So I get skeptical whenever there are these big heavyweights that have all the money, all the power, all the influence in the world, and they're working really hard to go out in space. And yeah, it's really cool. Who doesn't want to who doesn't want to hop on a plane and go into space for a little bit? Because that's dope.
Yeah,
but
I do.
We all do. Like we're all in that. Like, oh please, like can I get a media seat on this plane? Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, don't try and cover it up and saying that you're doing it for an altruistic reason, because truly, if you were doing things for philanthropic or altruistic reasons, you would be starting and, supporting the people that are working in your factories and supporting the people on ground. And,
yeah. Why don't the people in those factories make their own spaceship?
Exactly. Let them pay them a fair wage so that they can make their own spaceships and they can get out. This is about fostering innovation. This is about democratizing innovation.
Listen here, Bezos. Yeah. I need a spaceship by the end of the year. I'm gonna have to ask you for a $583 million raise.
or it's like the Kevin Malone thing with the Big Mac, where every time you buy a Big Mac, you take one ingredient out of the Big Mac, and then by the end of the week you have a free Big Mac. Like,
stop it. Stop that.
It's the guy from The Office. I don't know if you guys watch The Office, but
yeah, but that's so funny. That's really good. Well, I wonder, can you imagine if you're working at NASA? You're like, every day I'm going to take a new one spare part home, and by the end of the year I'm going to have enough to build my own spaceship. Here we go.
It could happen.
Like Johnny Cash when he builds his Cadillac when he worked at the GM. And he took a piece home every single day and built his own Cadillac.
It was like, what's that under your shirt? Not a bumper.
That's what it's not. I'll tell you that.
Is that typically like the theory behind embezzlement? Is that what we're describing here?
We would be called embezosment.
Hey-o.
I do.
Yeah.
No, good times. This is fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, I mean, I forgot what I was going to ask you guys, going along that same train of thought, but oh yes, Marie. So I've heard you mention multiple times in the podcast, Star Child, so Star Seeds, and Chrissy, if you want to chime, this isn't to one or either of you, but yeah. So the idea of a Star Child or Star Seed, is that something that you see more often, or when did you first hear about that? Because I first heard about it like 2 years ago.
Well, the first time I heard the term starseed probably goes back to the late 90s, and the band Our Lady Peace
Yep.
was singing a song called Starseed.
That guy was awesome on that episode
Yep.
too.
Yeah, he's also on our show.
Yes, he is.
So if you want to listen to our 90s alternative music, you can listen to Rain Maida from Our Lady Peace. That was probably the first instance of me hearing that word. I just didn't make an association with what that was until maybe 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
It's probably 5 years ago. And my friend Sarah Evans, who is a really close friend of mine, and she's very much into meditation and doing these retreats, and she's very, very spiritual and Kundalini yoga and all the rest of it. I call her my witchy sister because she's absolutely incredible. And I remember we were talking one day and I was like, yeah, I just realized that not everybody feels like they have the same sort of connection with animals, or they don't. Like, I was describing like basically symptoms of things. And then she turns to me, she's like, do you ever think that you're maybe a starseed? And that's whenever I started piecing all these things together, whether I am or not. I mean, it's fun to think so. I mean, I think we all are. I mean, we all come from something. If we're all made of stardust, then we all have the potential to be. But I do think it's like, I will say, before I understood what starseeds were, I had heard what reptilian people were.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So the evil and then like the good.
Well,
like,
not all reptilians
you're
are
right.
evil.
You're
all
right.
Wait, not all
Take it back.
reptilians are evil?
No, not all reptilians are evil. So supposedly, here we go. I don't know, air quotes here. I don't know. Not all reptilians are evil. Even within the reptilian culture, there's a hierarchy. There's also a level of consciousness that goes along with these reptilian beings. Some people, kind of just like humans, I mean, some people act like Neanderthals and they are very reptilian-like. Other people are very enlightened and, they're what you would consider to be a model member of society. And it's kind of the same thing with the reptilians. Not all reptilians are evil or bad. Some reptilians are benevolent, but there is a certain faction of them that are dickheads, right? Same thing with the grays. These gray guys, not all of them are bad, but there's some that are just going to pick you up and probe you, That's just coming from like experiencers, multiple experiencers that we've talked to. They all say that, they're not all of them are bad. It's really, and they even break it down to like a timeline, like when you're talking about traveling through space and time and dimensions, when you're projecting your thought, where are you projecting it within that species timeline? Are you projecting your thought and connecting with them on their earlier primal timeline where maybe they are a little more rough and mean? Or are you looking at them on their future timeline where they're a little more evolved and have a little more sense to them, where they're smarter and, more technologically advanced? Because, I mean, these things, if you think about it, I'm sure that they've had to grow throughout their time as well, just like human beings have. So from what we know, it seems like not all of these things are always bad, and they're not always good either. It's a mix, just like humans.
So interesting. It's really refreshing to hear that, because quite often whenever I am hearing about reptilians, I'm not hearing a very positive story about them. So I was always like, oh, it's light and dark. So that's cool. That's actually a really interesting thought, to think that maybe we're seeing like earlier, reflections of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let my brain rest on that for a second.
It kind of explodes the brain a little bit.
Yeah.
But when when you talk about like, non-locality and thought and consciousness and what's being produced and what is everything out there, there's 2% of the universe that can be accounted for, and 98% of it is all dark energy and dark matter. We can't see it. We don't know what it is. So when we're talking about that and projecting, they say that these things are connecting through consciousness, through certain forms of lights and things like that. So if you're projecting consciousness and you have a negative attitude and a negative outlook to whatever it is that you're thinking about, you are manifesting or calling out into the universe, hey, big bad reptilians, I know you're there. And if they come and visit you, that might be the timeline that you are projecting to. if you have a more evolved idea and thought about whatever it is that you're trying to contact or talk to, you may actually catch them in a future better, nicer timeline.
I love how the theories of manifestation truly transcend. They just pop up all the time nowadays. And so this idea that if you put positivity out there, if you think that the reptilians are a benevolent or a good people, if you're focusing on that, you will likely potentially call that in, as opposed to putting out the negative and calling that in, which is this kind of like the lesson for life.
Right.
I do think, like, going back to starseeds for a second, I going back to history as well with them, I think the concept of starseeds, from what I understood about them to be, is really that they're very much like steeped in legend. And what I loved about them is that with the Pleiades star system, or the Seven Sisters star system, it has always connected to me how that is the one star system that almost everyone around the world, no matter where you lived throughout time, you were able to identify, and you had myth and stories associated with them. It happened in Japan. I mean, again, Subaru is the Seven Sisters.
What? No
obviously.
way. Is that what
Yeah,
it
you didn't
stands
know
for?
that?
Yeah, with the stars. That's what the stars represent.
Way,
Yeah.
dude, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's like, so there, Japan, or you go into North America, and North American indigenous populations like Cherokees have legends about the Pleiades. Navajo have the Pleiadian star cluster. They call it the Sparkling Suns. The Iroquois have one as well. They call it the constellation for happiness. The Lakota and the Dakota people, they say that their ancestors are Pleiadian. It is like, so it's really curious to me, where you have individuals who had no access to technology that would allow them to see into the stars, into the heavens, and in the degree and the way that we are able to right now. And this one star system, everyone's able to see, and everybody was drawn to, and everybody, of all the stars in the sky.
Yeah.
Like, if I went out, if I went outside right now and the sky was clear, I could show Big Dipper, easy, no problem,
Dipster.
Orion's
Oh,
belts. Dope.
Yeah.
But if you asked me to show you where the Pleiades is, I wouldn't be like,
No idea.
I have no idea. I'm going to have to get that app out where it shows all of the constellations and has the trippy woo-woo
Sky
music in the
map,
background.
Night sky, dude.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I love that app. I use that quite often. I have a pair of binoculars and like a little telescope, and we'll go out and we'll check some stuff out. It's pretty cool. I love looking at stuff in the sky. Like, me and Ben always have this conversation on, like, when you look in the sky and then you think about the fact that most of those stars don't even exist anymore, it's kind of like mind-blowing, you know?
That's it. And you think about it, like stars that don't exist anymore, and what about whole populations that might not exist before?
I know.
Like, what about, have we had visitations from civilizations that just don't exist? And like, there's an interesting series on Netflix called Midnight Gospel, where it's, in a way, it's kind of like, if we lived in the future, this is kind of like what I wish Chrissy and I's podcast would be. Where basically it's a gentleman who has a podcast, and he has a computer that allows him, that the computer itself has a hard drive that have recorded the last days of every expiring civilization.
Oh, cool.
So his podcast is, he gets shot into this environment, and he records conversations with these people, because everything and everyone and everything is recorded. I think it's like the last day or the last 10 days of the civilization. It's a Netflix series. It's animated. It is really trippy. I highly recommend watching it. Sometimes you can't binge watch it. You kind of have to take one at a time, because they're really big topics. Like, one is with Dr. Drew.
Ooh,
Oh, cool.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's really, I can't remember the name of the comedian who hosts it, but it starts with Dr. Drew, and they're talking about chemicals, and then talking about drugs, and then psychedelics. And then the very last one, the comedian is talking with his mother, and I think his mother is going through treatment for breast cancer. And so the whole conversation is surrounding death. So, but while he's having these conversations, it's set up, it's animated, like he's having conversations with these people in these worlds in the last days of the world. And it's absolutely incredible.
That
So
sounds awesome.
yeah,
Does
maybe
sound
the
cool.
stars are gone and maybe these civilizations don't exist. And maybe some of these threats that we've experienced, maybe like in the 50s and prior, maybe they're not a problem anymore. Maybe they
Yeah.
went supernova.
Yeah, maybe they went back home to be like, "Hey guys, guess what we found?"
Yeah.
No! Like,
Dude, I've
We're
always
never coming back to Earth ever again.
Exactly. Look what we
Crazy.
found.
I've always
Crazy.
found-
Detour.
No, exactly. Like, what could they take back from Earth? Well, basically, so many things on Earth can poison you. But
they're like, we
What
have
would-
beer.
what would an alien civilization potentially take back that they think is a really cool souvenir, but might potentially wipe them all out?
Elvis.
Oh, Elvis.
I was just gonna say Michael Jackson.
Oh, yes.
It's tall.
I love that.
I'm gonna go with Elvis though. I think Elvis is probably way more online with them or somebody else. Maybe not so much MJ.
Oh my god, dude.
So, is that Chrissy? Did you have a story about star seeds? Because I have another question for you guys.
No, I was let Marie knows more about star seeds on that side. I
Yeah.
was stick more to the science and
Have
tech
you
side
all-
and stuff. So
we-
I'll let her go down that road.
We had a really good guest who broke down and described the generations of indigos, star seeds, light seeds, and like what was the other one? Crystal beings. Like there's like the generations and the incarnations of these different beings into the souls of humans, and how, like she said, it's really cool. She believes that she was reincarnated. So she was like, it's really cool to see the generations throughout all of these years growing into what they are now. Because we saw a lot of indigos in the beginning, and then we started getting a lot of these star children coming about after that. And now we're starting to see a lot of the crystal beings being born today. And that's super interesting to like realize that there's, one, a difference, and two, you can break them down, and they've been broken down on purpose through generations of our history.
Right.
That's incredible.
I wonder, like, what the addition would be like in the 50s. There's a reason why, because culture wasn't ready, or it wasn't going to be a good fit culture wise. Like if you're applying for a job in the tech industry, at least, like everybody's looking for culture fit. Like you could be really good at your job, but if you're kind of a little strange, like you're not going to get hired for that job in the tech world. So I wonder, maybe that's an analogy we could use, like with the different generations. They only are, whoever's in control of whatever this reality is only letting in those specific stars childs or indigos or whatever. I don't know, just thinking out loud.
Well, there's probably something to it. I mean, if we're all, the whole objective is just how humanity to achieve and be better than they know is possible, which I always find it difficult to think that we aren't all of this ilk. I always find it difficult to think like, okay, well, there's a few people that are descendants of star seeds, or there's some people who are, crystal children. But that's the part that I really struggle with it, because we're all here. We all are the same type of carbon-based, human beings, and we all have spirit within us. So like, where is this high? Like, if you're not from, a starseed of some degree, then what are you? I don't know. Anyway,
Right.
in my head, I'm like, we all basically have the potential to do it. In
They're
my head.
NPCs. Have you heard that idea? Like, some people are just NPCs. Like, some people around you are like, I'm not
Like
saying
in a video game?
Yeah, like they're not not enlightened. They're not. This is like.
No, that's cool, because I feel that all the time.
Yeah.
Like walking down the street, I was like, you're not a real human being. I don't even think you feel emotion right now. Like,
Yeah.
could you hold the door open for me while I'm walking in and let it slam in my face? Thanks so much, people. They're so nice. But there's a lot of idiots out there for sure.
I mean, like
Yep.
people that I was okay. I'm sure we've all got our traffic story, but there was this woman. Okay, my wife and I were driving. Anyway, this woman was just picking her nose, blasting music, did not care that anyone else was driving, and just was swerving it. And like I pulled up next to her at the red light, and we look over, and she was just rocking out to that music. Did not care that anyone else was on the road. Like she's in her own world, doesn't care. I would say that was like an NPC. Like, hey, you know, in Grand Theft Auto, how they kind of make some people drive crazy just so it just kind of wakes you up a little bit or adds some nuance to the game. Like that's to me a perfect example of NPCs.
That's it. I mean, like their conversations are like, oh, well, I need to go and pick up some milk today from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Would you like to get married? Yeah, I would. Like these conversations that are happening all around us are like, maybe they are. I don't know. Why is it that I'm only friends with a small percentage of people? Anyway. I was going down a thought train and then I just lost that entirely.
Well,
but
I love that.
A lot of people suck. That's why I'm only friends with certain people. That's for sure. You know? All lives don't matter. Some people really do suck. Like, fuck those guys. But the idea of, like, you just being, like, you are energy. Like, you are a biological we were talking about this with Ryan you're just literally a biological vessel for intelligent energy.
Yeah, consciousness. You know? Ryan Bledsoe. I mean, if you guys haven't talked to him, you guys got to talk to Ryan Bledsoe.
If I sit out by a lake sometimes, or like just I'm walking in the woods or I'm hiking in the desert, sometimes I'll get in this zone where you ever stop and think, like, you know, you see stuff all day long. When your eyes are open, you're looking at stuff. But are you like absorbing the information? And sometimes when I'm in certain situations, I'm looking through my eyes, but you don't realize, like, you're I don't know, like, you know how, like, when you're looking through your eyes full, but like you see everything, but like you don't see, like, yourself. You know, like, you're not paying attention to yourself. You're just looking at the world around you and, like, absorbing it. But, like, your body has, like, the six senses that it deals with. But, like, what is that feeding? Like, what is it, you know, like, what is observing? Is your body's observing. Like, your six senses, your body is, like, having these senses. It's like this, whatever this energy inside is, like, using this vessel to interact and to have these experiences. Yeah. It's like something inside you wants to have the experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the idea of non-local consciousness. Do you guys have any perspective on that?
I don't. Chrissy?
Not on my end. No, I just think we just don't understand enough about consciousness. We've tried to, and at least our subconscious, you know, there's been so many people that have tried to look into it and deeper, and I just think we still don't know enough. You know, I find it just fascinating, and hopefully we start to learn more in the next little bit, because I don't know the psychologists today. We know a lot of the older psychologists like Freud and everyone else, but I don't know about the modern day psychologists and where they see it. And then maybe that's just my fault, but I'd be curious to see what their thoughts are on just the subconscious now, and then where we see it today.
Yeah, dude, I love that idea. I definitely get what you mean. Like, you're not really seeing what's in front of you. I feel like 90% of my day is like I'm just taking things in and not really present or whatever. But
or we don't realize. I think we figure it out later, right? Down the road, we're like, we have like those aha moments, you know? I always say this to Marie and to other people too. I'm like, we tell ourselves these narratives all the time. And like, we're just not really acute to our own actions sometimes and the things that we're doing. And then, like, you know, 10 years down the road, and maybe that's wisdom. And then we're like, oh yeah, like that's what I did. And then you realize you're like, you had no idea. Like, but we keep telling ourselves stories that maybe just aren't really what they should be. We just kind of tell ourselves a narrative, and then over time those narratives do change. But I
always think of the movie Soul, you know, and like the guys that are trapped in that middle place. And like how, like, as a child, dude, from like the age of 6 to like the age of like 16, I could probably remember most of those days, most of those stories, and there's so much that I remember. But then from the age of like 16 to now in my 30s, I could tell you like 10 of my favorite days. You know, it's almost like your soul gets sucked out of you, like just through like just your modern society, like your soul just gets sucked out, and you have to like find a way to not let that happen, because you lose most of your life. I literally don't remember most of the past 2 weeks. There's like 4 hours that's like worth talking about maybe. Yeah. But other than that, dude, I don't remember. But if you ask me about my childhood, I could talk all day about my childhood and how awesome that was and cool, and like you're really like experiencing life.
Yeah.
You know, as a kid, you're so interested in stuff and you're experiencing everything. Like that's your purpose. Your purpose is to experience. You don't really necessarily think your purpose is to figure this out or have answers. I think your purpose is to literally experience the opportunity that's given to you. Like it's like what your soul wants. It just wants to experience shit, you know?
Love that.
I agree. That's 100%. Your soul wants to experience shit. I'm on that train 100%.
Yeah.
It's like, get that on a shirt.
Yeah, that's always what I say. Yeah, my soul wants to experience shit.
Yeah.
Hop on the soul train. Experience the world, man.
I like it. We need to make that happen.
So,
I love this.
so y'all had mentioned subconscious. What do you think that alien and UFO movies have instilled in our subconscious as a culture? I mean, we've all grown up with literally everything is about aliens. Some of the best movies, maybe that's just me, but there's so many movies and
Space
books
Jam.
and like, man, that just shaped my childhood, your childhood. In you guys' opinion, how do you think that the UFO and alien topic has subliminally influenced our culture?
I don't know. I know E.T. ripped my heart out and then threw it on a platter. And then some of those scenes, Spielberg just like kicks you in the head. And they're like, yeah, when they saw him in a ditch, there's that one shot of E.T. like laying down in like a riverbed and he's like white. And I was like, like I remember watching it like, I think a year or two ago with my friend Dan. And I just looked at him in the theater and I started crying. I was like, I can't handle this. I'm like, I'm an adult and I can't handle these scenes.
It's so sad.
But it's also a comment on what we do to things that, you know, we're more of a comment on society, right? And what we do to things that we're not used to or that are totally unknown to us. But I don't know much in our subconscious, you know, probably to be scared. I would say for some people, I had one person say to me, and she didn't know that I love the topic of UFOs. And I don't know how we came across this, but she's just like, yeah, the one thing that I have is fear of, and she's like, it's totally irrational, and I'm like, what's that? And she's like, aliens. And I just started laughing, and I didn't want to tell her that I'm like a UFO fan, you know? And I'm like, I was like, why? And she's like, I don't know. I just find them so scary. And I'm petrified. She's like, and I know it's irrational. And so I wonder what she's thinking now. I've never messaged her recently. So I wonder where she's at now, watching the news. If she is, she's probably losing her mind.
I know.
If she thinks that aliens are real, but I laugh because it's just funny because like, that's probably something that has come from her watching movies, Independence Day and all this stuff. That's probably what it's come towards rather. Cause like, there's no real conversation in the mainstream media about like aliens being real. So it had to have come from pop culture.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you think, like, I mean, so that lady's a perfect example. I mean, when you're talking about just like the mass of people, most of them, you ask them, so if you saw an alien, what would you do? Probably like what? 75, 80% of people would be like, oh, dude, I'd freak out. That'd scare me, dude. Right. But
I think I would freeze.
And then you look at the news, right? And just like this lady, I'm saying she's a perfect example because now you were saying like, well, she's probably in her house freaking out now. When you look at the population and how like the information is being put out there, you know, you see the stories, threat to national security, invading airspace. These things are technology that doesn't belong to anybody. And it's, you know, obviously you want to be, you know, you'd rather be safe than sorry, right? Prepare for it and be ready for it. But for most people, when they see that on the news, they're like, holy shit, aliens are real? But I'm officially terrified now.
I don't think people are even accepting it yet. Even though they're hearing it on the news, they're still like, but that doesn't mean they're real though, right?
I mean, they're real, but that doesn't mean that they're real.
Like the military say that they're in the sky, but does it? Is it though?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're if we're shaping the way that, you know, the culture around this whole thing, you know, one group of people that seems to be left out so much are the people that are actually experiencing this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a group of experiencers. It's like a huge subculture that's coming up with it right now. And there's an app actually called the Experiencer app.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
literally just saw it advertised to me. It's probably going to pop up on everybody's phone now. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I sent it to you, Marie, and I was like, look at this. I was like, this is wild. So it was just like a subculture, and it was like all different type of experiencers, but like there was like the alien abduction category in there. So it's actually trickling up into the mainstream now. Like the subculture is really starting to bubble up, and maybe probably not for a while. But what we're thinking that might happen, and what people have talked about, is that, you know, there will be something that science will be able to explain, that what is happening to these people at some point, because it just can't now. So like this narrative of like UFO and aliens, like the government's not saying that aliens exist. Like it's just not saying that, along with like the mass media is not saying that, but everyone just assumes it because of pop culture, because everyone's like, well, if aliens exist, if UFOs exist, that means aliens do. Well, that's not true. So we have to distinguish between the two, that the one is just like a narrative that's been told through entertainment and media, and that's glorified it. And then the other one is actually just like a news factor trying to happen right now, that are just trying to get the news out. Because I'd rather be on the other end, the government telling us and doing, you know, and having conversations with it, and journalists really looking into it deeply, than not telling us at all, and us still questioning and being in the dark. So long story short, I kind of blame pop culture for creating that alien phenomenon, because people love it. Like, who doesn't? It's full entertainment, right? It was entertainment first before it's become mainstream news now. So now UFOs are mainstream. Aliens still run in the pop culture entertainment section of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you have like, you know, your Nick Popes and your James Foxes and your Lou Elizondos, you know, and they go on the news and they talk about this stuff. I think it's going to be really interesting when they get like somebody who's actually been taken by these things on the news, you know? I think that
in a non-ironic way.
In a non-ironic way, I think there is a long time, not in our lifetime, that science will be able to explain a lot of this. I think science will start to come over the horizon on being able to accept what's happening and have enough of a scientific foundation to say, okay, this phenomena is no longer some woo-woo topic. It's real. But I think that's as far as our science is going to be able to get with this topic for a long time. I mean, we've talked about how we've just kind of, you know, within 80 years come across this quantum mechanics. Oh my goodness. String theory.
Fractal.
Like, what is this? Fractals. Like, I think once we understand this science, it's going to open a door to a whole nother form of science that these things are probably operating on. And I while I totally think that it's important to have these people on the news and talk about it, I also think it's really important to have the people that it's happening to talk about it as well. That's obviously a little bit more difficult. It's difficult to find somebody who's been taken by an ET or had an experience and has a story, right? Have them on the news than it is to have a military official that you can get channels and you can get paperwork and follow a paper trail and say, look, yes, this is legit. This guy worked here. This is what he did. Yeah. That's easier than, say, you ran across Eric Mitchell and you're like, hey, do you know that this guy got taken and he got blasted with a beam of light? Or, you know, like Travis Walton, like, hey, you know, this guy got hit with a beam of light out in the woods. Yep, and his friends left, and they came back, and he wasn't there.
We promise. We promise it happened.
It happened. We promise, right? That's tough, but I think there's going to be a wave of interesting things coming out when they start talking to like actual experiencers, you know?
Yeah. Well, John Mack was a psychologist, Dr. John Mack, that, you know, did multiple research on experiencers. And he talked about, one was like evidence. One of them said that the experiencers, they gave him a wand. and the wand never appeared because they wanted to see it, but John Mack never saw the wand. And now I want to see the wand when I heard that, because that was like the evidence this experiencer had. But the interesting thing at the end of, working with all of these people as patients, John Mack, really did believe in what happened. He really was a believer in the experiencer. And he was a psychologist. He was ridiculed for a very long time about it too. And to this day, people, they laughed at him in psychology and didn't take him seriously. And now it's changing a little bit. So I think we are going to learn more in science. John Mack was probably pointing to certain things that were shedding light on way before the time. And I think we'll be around to know. And I think experiencers will have a different say, and their time will come. And you do have to give space, even though for them it's real. And I think that's the most important thing, is this is massive trauma. And so it's not always mental health going into it. Sometimes it is, because, mental health does play a part in that. But even if one experience has happened, it makes it real.
Right.
So, John Mack said that the experience for these people were not so much, the mental health was not before. The mental health came after the trauma of the experience.
Yep.
Yes.
And then the mental health showed up because of the trauma. And I felt that was really interesting. And so you have to give space to these people. If it's mental health or not, I think you have to give space to experiencers. You need to listen to their stories. We need to document them, have a place for them to talk about it, because we don't really know what's going on, and give them a space that's safe. And then also look at it with scientists and different people in different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I think we're going towards that. And I think the best part right now, like with Robert Bigelow's doing, and a lot of different people that are working in the UFO community and with mainstream media now, is giving the ability that scientists are actually going to be able to come in and look at ufology and experiencers and all these different phenomenons in a really academic way that we've never been able to do for the past 75 years. So it's a cool time to be alive, because in the next decade, we're probably going to have like chapter 2 of this.
Yep.
And I'm excited to be alive. I'm excited to be part of this community throughout all of it, because it's going to be a wild trip. And then also, by the things that we figure out through science in the ufology community, we're probably going to find out a lot of other paranormal things too.
Oh,
because it kind of just opened the gateway now to be like, hey, you can start here. This is okay. Now we're going to go to the next thing. Like, and what is Leslie Kean and like Bigelow and a group of them are already looking at life after death right now.
Yep.
Taking that seriously, and how it's connected even to the UFO phenomenon. Like, it's really cool to be in this world, and it's now going into mainstream news and not so much entertainment. And I think it's pretty awesome.
I just want to like jump in really, really fast, because listening to you speak, Chrissy, and talking about the humanity, and that even though you might not understand, or maybe you don't even believe the experiences that some people have, they're in many cases traumatic accounts that they need to have the space and the freedom to be able to work through without judgment. It's really a big lesson as us as a society to kind of put aside our own egos in order to be present for our neighbors in a way that they need us. And again, like, you don't need to believe anybody. You just need to listen to them, let them be heard, and then help them work through stuff so that they can go back to being, proper members of society, as opposed to people who just feel like they're constantly on the outskirts because something might have happened to them. They're like, nobody believes me. Was it even real? And then I can't even imagine the amount of mental trauma that somebody has to go through, has to endure, or continue to endure as a result of people just not standing by them.
Yeah, I think no one would be able, that's why you have experiencer groups that get together, because how the heck, if you ever get taken into the craziest degree of a story, like even the hybrid stories and everything that are like, wow, if you're a part of that and that's happening to you and you feel it's real, I cannot even imagine the trauma waking up every day and doing your life and doing normal things. Like, why would you even go to work? Like, I wouldn't. Yeah. Like, I'd probably be they'd probably think I'm a Looney Tune screaming down the street being like, this is happening. Like, I can't imagine for them. And then how do you relate to other people? So obviously that's why experiencers get together, so they can relate to each other.
Right.
But, finding that space for them for sure is needed. If it's true or not, whatever's happening, it's still very much trauma. And it's scary, because it's probably being taken would probably be one of the worst things to ever happen to you, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Unless it's a positive story.
Yeah.
Being on the negatives, even being the positive side would still be terrifying. Like, which is,
yeah.
like even looking at an alien, like I've heard some stories where, and I've said, someone asked me too, they're like, what would you do? And I'm like, if that ever happened, and that, whatever it may be, and it's not like going down that road, if it ever did, I said, I'd probably freeze. I said, and then I'd have to I don't even think you can mentally prep yourself for those things.
No.
Even though as much as you try, if you went to like alien school to like prep yourself and like images just like popped up out of the ground and you're like, and like you try to like mentally mess yourself up to see if you could take it. Like, I still don't even think you'd be ready. Like, I just think it would be, that's why I actually don't think we know what's going on. And we don't have any real clue. And I think that when we find out, it's going to be something that we've never, ever, ever said before or even understood. Like, I think we know what it is and everybody does. But to be honest, humans I don't think we're at the ability to really comprehend it. And once we do, it's not going to be like what's happening in the mainstream or anything else. It's going to be something even more wild.
Oh, definitely.
I totally agree.
Yeah. We're in the process of shooting a documentary right now. And we actually, like the guy, we took him back to the exact spot that the event happened to him. And man, I mean, you can just see it on his face. Like, he smoked through half a pack of cigarettes. I mean, he was just like a sheet, white as a sheet, kind of shaking a little bit. Like, the PTSD is real. Yeah. I know. Did you actually get to meet Travis Walton, like, face to face? Have you met?
Yeah, I have. I interviewed him, actually. I have the interview on tape. I'm trying to get my friend to get it off the camera.
Oh.
I took a camera down with me. It was the same time that was the same conference that I filmed, and I didn't, oh my God, I'm losing his mind. I'm losing the name right now. Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Jeez, Chris. Bob Lazar was there at that same time. It was the same conference. It was Travis Walton and Bob Lazar. It was a big ticket.
That's awesome.
Conference.
It's
unbelievable. But I did interview I did interview Travis Walton. And when I talked to him, it was just something happened to that man.
Yeah,
like
his eyes tell you the whole story.
You're like, yep. You're like, okay, something's going on here, and I don't know what it is, but something's happening. And his story stayed the same for like over 30 years now, right?
Yeah.
So in the consistencies and stuff, and same with Betty and Barney Hill. Like, those stories are really, really compelling. And there's lots of other ones as well. But yeah, when I met Travis, I was beside myself for a little bit because of just even just him as a person too. Like, he's a very interesting character. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How would you react, or how do you think? So when this does become mainstream, like when it does become like kind of the hot ticket, right? The same. I don't know. I don't even know how to word this. If your government is coming out and telling you, hey, we believe that these things are real, and we're all, on board saying, okay, awesome. Yes, these things are real.
Yeah.
When we start finding out about programs like the MyLabs program or like MK Ultra, or we start finding out, about like Montauk or any of these other like special government programs, how do you think people are going to react? Like, wait a second, you guys have been running alien programs, but then you came out in 2020 and was like, hey, we think something's going on, but you've known something's going on the whole time. And you weren't very nice about it either. Like, I mean, I don't know how much you know about like the MyLabs and stuff like that.
I don't follow the MK Ultra stuff as much, but it scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, so
MK Ultra talk.
We have
but like projects like Project Paperclip, is a big one.
Taking all the scientists.
Right. And that's a true program that happened. So I think what's going to happen later on in years is that the same thing with Project Paperclip, there's only so many people that know about it. And there's only so many people that talk about it and actually care to know, that after a while, I think it might just be pushed under the rug.
Yeah.
And also depends on how much the government will leak. back to this conversation of the government telling us like this 180 days, being like, disclosure and like, they're going to tell us everything. Like, it's just not going to happen. They haven't done it for over 75 years now.
Yeah.
Why the heck are they going to tell us in June?
Yeah.
What's going down?
Yeah.
2021, that's the day, like, that's the reckoning. I don't think that's going to be, it's probably going to be, some loose footage again, giving us some other breadcrumbs and then slowly just kind of feeding it to us as we go along. And I think with those other programs, it would be very similar. And I really don't think people will believe it. If people go down the road of MK Ultra and look into it, they'll be petrified just as much as I am and everyone else. So I just think a lot of people will turn a blind eye because they just won't be able to comprehend it or digest it. But I don't really follow those narratives as much. I kind of stay more in the UFO space in that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's with the MyLabs thing, you have this interaction where ET and military personnel actually are working side by side, and few people that have been abducted. Our friend Melinda Leslie, who's like one of the leading researchers over 30 years of this stuff, and she's talked to some extremely high level people, and her stories of being taken and seeing actual military personnel in the same room with ET, basically extracting information. That's how they supposedly are getting a lot of this information, is because they're actually abducting contactees, and they're getting this information. Hey, we want to know, what have you seen? Have they told you anything? Have you touched the ship? Have you got to fly a craft? Have you seen images? What kind of technology is there? Blah, blah, blah. And it's a really, like, I don't know, it's really interesting, because even going back to the Betty and Barney Hill case, when they talk about how there was two red-headed men who walked out of the craft holding German shepherds.
Yeah,
and
that's
we
like
know
the
that
original...
Yeah, and we know that the Republic of Ireland at one point was actually allies with the Nazis. And so you think about it, oh, okay, Nazis, highly advanced technology, also, friends with the Republic of Ireland at the time, two red-headed guys and German shepherds.
Pop out.
How much of this stuff is a lot closer to home than they're telling us? And are they just getting out in front of something? Maybe this isn't necessarily a leak. We've had somebody tell us that, hey, there's no such thing as a leak. Everything that's coming out was very precisely planned to come out for a reason. And we had talked about Project Paperclip and Wernher von Braun on our last episode, on how he had talked about the 3 stages of implementing a one world system, where how first the United States would face the threat of communism, and then we would have to face the threat of terrorism. And then the last and final step would be facing the threat of a false invasion. And, Wernher von Braun has called it so far up to this point, because we have. And now we're starting to see this alien thing roll out in the media. And like I said, I think it's really cool. I think it's awesome. But I also think we all need to be very, very careful on how we absorb this information coming out in the mainstream, at least.
For sure. I agree with that. The stuff around like Germany, and like the De Glocken, like the bell, and all that. I love that name. The De Glocken. Like, it's so German. I love it. Like, and all that stuff it's great. It's so interesting. Like I love the conspiracy theories during that time with Germany. Like, I really do love them and enjoy them. I don't know how much I believe them, but I do love the whole concept around it, and then intertwined with Project Paperclip. Like, it's interesting, but Project Paperclip is not, and Von Braun is not a conspiracy. It's true. It's,
right.
That's real.
That's real.
What happened. So, right. And again, I don't think a lot of masses know that, right? It's not talked about. And why the heck would the American government ever want to tell everyone, oh, by the way, during World War II, we decided to take all the Nazi scientists that were the best and bring them over to NASA and everywhere else. Yep. Like, this is not going to do it.
It's like, hey, why'd you invite so-and-so over? Because he has the best Legos. Why would I invite him over?
Yeah, and like, why? So I bet you he probably knew a lot. Like, Von Braun probably knew a lot more than we would imagine, and maybe that he is alluding to, I don't know. But the other thing is that, for sure, the Pentagon knows way more and has way more information than they're telling us. We're getting grainy, crappy iPhone 3 photos.
Right.
We're not getting the close-up ones. And like I don't like to speculate because it's probably not a good thing, but I bet you there are better quality photos. We keep getting closer and closer, like the blimp, it started with the acorn and now we've got a blimp and the sphere, and like they're a little bit closer and you're like, cool. Like they just keep coming out and getting a little bit blurrier, but a little bit closer. So I'm curious to see what the next ones come out. Like maybe it's a USO coming out of the water, and like, there might be something. A video would be really great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So I think they're going to do that with us for a very, very, very long time. So I'm not holding my breath for anything major because they've never done it and they know a lot more. They're just not telling us. And that's why people are fighting to know more. And that's why there's, media and UFO investigators and all these people and journalists like really digging deep into it now, because now it's like, we know you know more and they've got a taste for it. And it's great to see. Yeah.
It's just insane to think that you have like a government or a military satellite that can zoom in from space into your window and read a note sitting on your desk or read the date on a dime very, very clearly. And we're still getting these fuzzy pictures.
With the damn jitter phone and it also sucks
photos,
too, man.
Because like regular people have been taking fuzzy, blurry ass pictures for years. And everybody's been like, oh, you're a quack. That's crazy. You can't even see it clearly. And then the government does it. And everybody's like, oh, look at this. This is how interesting. Aliens are real now.
But
you're like, God damn it.
I feel like some of this makes me think like, man, the reason why some of these photos are blurry and this whole anti-campaign and whatever, is because they're trying to cover up the fact that they do know how to build these craft, and they don't want, well, number one, our the populace to know that we have these craft that we can actually fly. We know the technology, at least some of it, but they also don't want their enemies to know, or potential enemies to know that, we know how to make these craft. Like that.
They don't want to get a clear photo because you might see the rivets.
Yeah.
Well, look at even Suzanne Go recently in the Pentagon conversation that just came out, with her stating that they wouldn't really say that they were drones. Like they said that there was like, it was unidentified flying objects, but they weren't sure if it was, she uses the word training materials in that statement as well. Oh. So it's kind of like, hey, what is this? And we're trying to figure it out. And they really did a 360 on us on that one with Jeremy Corbell's recent footage.
Yeah.
I think, well, obviously drones are a big conversation right now, and drone is happening within China and the drone war right now. So for sure, technologies, we don't want to tell them. Maybe we're getting red herrings, probably to make sure that other people are watching mass media, and they do it. Like the CIA, Lou Elizondo's told me for sure that the CIA has lied to media, so that they've given people that are watching from other countries that are competing, that are saying, oh, hey, let's watch the mainstream media, and they're going to tell us all about it. So they've put in fake news to, for the enemy not to realize what's going on, or to believe something else is a false narrative. So they do it. Right. It's very much an intelligence thing. But now I hope they're not using the UFO community to do that, because that wouldn't be cool to any of us.
That would suck.
But I'm hoping that that's not the case, and more than likely it's not. And they're just, giving us information as it goes as tidbits. But I guess we'll see, right, in the next little bit.
I wonder, so what do you guys think about the pyramid thing? Because I saw a triangle. I didn't see a three-dimensional shape. Joe saw the pyramid. All I saw was a triangle. I'm not saying it was an awesome video. I mean, Jeremy Corbell, busted out this video. Awesome. And I'm like, so I
remember when you were like, this video sucks, dude.
Oh, dude.
I'm just kidding.
I called you, said, sucks, man. But I was such a hypocrite in that same way. It's like, man, even if we got the evidence, we wouldn't believe it. I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just saying it's interesting that some people saw a pyramid. I saw a triangle. What did you guys think? Like, did y'all see a triangle or a pyramid?
I don't know if Marie, have you seen this yet, Marie? I'm going to text it to you. I'm going to send it in the chat if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, hit me up.
So I say, let's ask Marie what she sees.
Okay.
Okay,
so
Ooh,
what
this
are my
would be fun,
choices?
yes.
Before
Yeah. So let's ask her because she hasn't seen it yet.
Awesome.
I'm gonna bring up. Actually, I'll bring you my YouTube video on my site that shows all of them, and you can kind of just fast forward. Let me find it. Give me 2 seconds. But I'm curious to see what you think to someone that like doesn't always follow this in the mainstream media all the time, but like obviously you know a lot more about UFOs and like you do keep an eye on it. So there you go. So watch that and then go towards the end.
Okay. So what are my choices looking at this? What does it set me up? So what am I
I kind of don't
So you were
want
looking,
or you just want me
you
to
guys can
just
follow
tell
along
you?
too if you want to the last link I sent. So go to you're gonna go over to like past 2 minutes, I think. So the first images that I'm going to show you are the ones that are like the blimp and the sphere, and those came out from the cockpit of a pilot in recent. And then there's 2 new images that came out just recently through George Knapp. Our team from the debrief broke the first one, the Acorn, and then the other 2 were from Mystery Wire, which is George Knapp's company. So if you go down to like 45 seconds, you're going to see Jeremy's footage. And so it is I don't know what kind of camera is this, guys. I have no idea what kind of night camera it is. Like
That's
green
the
footage.
technical term for it. Must be the night camera.
It's the flutter cam.
So if you look
cam.
and you go to 103, then you're going to see this footage of them, and there's a couple of them flying overhead.
Okay, 103.
Yeah.
We've
Okay,
pulled up a screenshot, so we're not looking at the same thing you are, but
Okay.
I'm looking at it. Looks like a Dorito in the sky.
yes.
That's what it looks like.
They're Dorito planes.
Ironically, there was a secret plane that was being built by the military, and the people that worked on it called it the Flying Dorito. And it was so secretive that employees actually didn't eat Doritos for lunchtime. And I'm not even making that up. That's a 100% true story because it was so secretive. They didn't even want anybody to get any idea that it was being built. So nobody was allowed to eat Doritos.
That's
I swear. What?
Is that true? That's hilarious.
It was this big white craft. Michael Schratt talked about it. Michael Schratt is amazing. He's actually an aerospace historian, and he's done a lot of digging in government spending when it comes to black projects, and that's kind of his specialty.
I've never even heard that one yet. I'm gonna look into that.
It's amazing.
I see this thing as like pyramid, UFO, or bokeh, and it definitely is not bokeh. I have bokeh glasses. It does not look like anything like that for sure. I would say it's like it's like clearly. I mean, we can all agree.
Clearly, it's fuzzy.
It's a bright, triangular pyramid type shaped vehicle flying through the sky.
Yeah.
So, right. That's what it looks like to me. I think it looks like a triangle as well. So apparently Jeremy Corbell said, though, to defend the footage that the information that was leaked to him was that it said, and this came from, and then the Pentagon confirmed. I don't believe the Pentagon didn't confirm pyramids, but confirmed that the footage was real, right?
Right.
And that's all the Pentagon confirmed is like, by the way, this footage is real, but we're not going to tell you if it's UFOs or triangular or pyramids or whatever, it's just real. So then the rest of the speculation kind of happens with everyone else. Yeah. But Jeremy said that the stuff that was leaked to him, which is even interesting, and how that ended up getting leaked anyway, was leaked to him because it wasn't actually leaked through the Pentagon. It wasn't just, didn't come from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Anyway, that it was pyramids, and that's what it says in the report. And that's how he came to it. He didn't speculate that it was pyramids. Right. It was said in the report that it was.
Yeah.
And then the one that's blinking, apparently that was because of the camera. It actually wasn't blinking. Oh. So yeah, that's what he said after I watched his George Knapp, that they did like an hour kind of rundown on the footage. And
because that blink always bugged me. I was like, that blinks at the same rate as an airplane.
Yeah. Well, then after it left everything open to be a drone, right? Because then everyone's like, it's a drone. And now, then when Susan Go decided to make that statement then she just confirmed and said that yes, the footage is real, but she didn't confirm what was real with the footage and anything else around that. They love to do that. She's a mastermind when it comes to communication.
I am currently reading the article that was posted in our Zoom chat here, where it's like possible explanation, and it's like, remember when I accidentally pissed off Mick West and I didn't realize he was paying attention to anything that we were saying from All Pop Repeat when we were talking with after the Dave Foley and Jeremy Corbell episode. And he was, I know, I thought, I was like, it clearly, because we were talking about like was it cold bird theory or something? I was like, no, that's not, how is that even, I don't see how that works. Like if you have somebody who is trained as a pilot, their entire job is to observe and to identify things, and if they're not able to identify something, then how the hell is this dude Mick West able to do it? Like, then he's coming up and he's like, he made a video saying that this is why it said bokeh, because he's trying to say that it was like might have been light that was captured to create an optical effect.
Right. And so you're Maria, you're a photographer? Yes, that's how you said you had glasses or something?
No, I have glasses. So I mean, I don't know if you get the same garbage ads as I do on Instagram, but there's
like literally ads for garbage. Like, come on, come pick it up.
I have like 8 friends
come on.
Instagram.
I got some sunglasses. They only got one arm on them, but they fit real good.
Yeah, zero APR on these garbage sunglasses.
Come on down and get them.
Hipster or homeless, why should get them now? So I got these glasses. So when you put them on, any light source that's like a traffic light or a headlight or light in somebody's window, it turns it into a heart shape. So it's just a bokeh lens. That's all it is, but it's glasses.
Okay.
So we got them, my girlfriends and I got them for somebody's birthday party. Was it my birthday party? It might have actually been mine. And we all put them on, and it was nighttime, and people must have thought we were high because we were walking down the street and we're like, there's hearts over there and there's hearts over there.
Do you guys see this, Dad?
Can you see his hearts everywhere? But I can say from my intimate experience with bokeh lenses, it doesn't look like that. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like that at all.
Another explanation was that it's refracting the image of the iris of the camera, which the iris of a camera is an octagon or hexagon, right? It's not a
Some
triangle.
of them are triangular.
Oh, some of them are?
Yep, some of them are. I've seen a couple of the night vision ones. I'm going to tell a cop that next time. Sir, are you drunk? No, sir. It's bokeh.
Okay. There are hearts everywhere. But it's ridiculous. Some of the times I look at the footage and I don't find it terribly compelling, and I'm like, there might be something there. This is weird. I would sit and watch a Netflix special just about this.
Yeah.
That's how intrigued I am about this one.
Oh, totally.
There probably will be.
Oh, yeah.
Andy's probably working on it along with the History Channel.
I think we're all a part of Jeremy Corbell's new documentary. I don't know if he's working on one, but man, this is like, if he's not making a documentary right now, he should be, because there's just so much going on. Like, it's insane.
There's so many narratives from the UFO community too. That's the thing. There's so many different groups. You've got Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. Then we've got our debrief side of things, and then you've got Stephen Greer. Gosh, and then you've got Corey and David Wilcox. Like there's just so many. Like, at least there's 4 narratives right there in the UFO community, and they're all not the same. They're somewhat similar in context at times. But we look at Stephen Greer as he's on another plane, and David Wilcox, he's on another planet.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, he's a man's on another planet. So that
dude's lost my trust.
With him and Corey. Pardon?
I said that guy's kind of lost my trust. That guy, he's a little. I wish, man, because he says some really good stuff, and I just wish it was like,
I think it's the motivation of everyone too. Like, when you really look as I get deeper and deeper in the community, I always look at everybody's motivation of why they're here and why they like UFOs, like what brought them to it.
Yeah.
Outside of just the phenomenon, like it's just so interesting to hear why people are so attached to it. What's happened to them is when they were growing up as kids.
Right.
You know, is their family into it? How did they stumble into it? Is there trauma attached to it? You know, and then you hear about everyone's background too of other things that they've done. Because this, as any other industry, there's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened. We look at MUFON and what happened with the director at MUFON. Like it's wild. And so there's a lot of dark past that people don't talk about and have skeletons probably that are not there yet, that are not in the peripheral, but they're also have a very large mainstream conversation. And we have to be mindful of that because those people could be tricking other people. It doesn't mean that everything they're saying is true because a lot of them are doing it based on greed too.
Yep.
You know, no one makes millions of dollars off UFOs, but you still can make money in a name when you do things that are specific to, you know, very, very high paranormal things and make it super interesting so that people lock into it. And then you just feed into that monster. It's scary. And it's not fair to those people that believe it because if someone is lying to them and taking all of their money and creating false ideals, that's not right. It's not right. And so I think we have to, as a community, we have to be more skeptical of each other in a good way, listen, but then also monitor what the hell is coming out. That's why we need science to prove this stuff. So we stop with people like frauding each other or coming up with these crazy ideas that might not be true.
Right.
And then telling other people and taking all their damn money, you know,
I really hope that era is over. It's almost like, man, we went through this, we as in the UFO community. I mean, we're so new to this. We don't even consider ourselves. I mean, now I feel like we're kind of stepping or, you know, a couple more toes into it. But the many people that we've met that are in the community that we've become good friends with. I mean, we hear all the time that you should listen to this person or maybe that person's lied in the past about this one thing. And there hasn't been a lot of forgiveness. And I hope that we're moving towards that path of like, no one knows what the fuck is happening. No one has all the answers, and just have this level of discernment where we can all agree that no one's right or wrong. It's how you approach it. And I think you hit on that. Like, where is this coming from? Like, what's the motivation, dude? Like, are you, how much are you selling tickets for? Or
if anybody tells you they know what's going on, they're full of shit.
Yeah, the only person I ever really brag on the community is Stephen Greer, because I don't agree that if you're doing experience or sessions that you should be paying, it should be free. You know, the concept of like yoga, you know, even though you have yoga studios, but you can go into a yoga studio and like work for free and be able to do yoga classes for free. Yeah. Instead, Stephen Greer is like making an app and you have to pay for it, when this type of kind of experience has been around way before Stephen Greer, started that dude,
like
but it's true.
$5,000 to go out with him.
Yeah, it's expensive. Oh, it's ridiculous.
Sorry, it's how much?
Like $5,000.
I thought it was more than that.
Oh, is it more? It probably is more than that. I was lowballing just because I didn't want to sound ridiculous, but it's some stupid amount of money to go out and do some shit you can learn on YouTube. Which I would recommend doing.
And if that's the bag that you want to follow and, you know, subscribe to, there's a peaceful element to it too, which is fine. But yeah, like you don't take people's money for that. You can go online and do it and find out how to do those types of exercises. Like, you don't need to go to Stephen Greer or anyone that is, and please go look at other people.
Yeah, it's almost like if you say I can contact aliens, and people are like, you're full of shit. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, well, pay me $8,000 and I'll prove it to you. You know, it's more like you would be begging people to just come with you so you can show them this ability and show them this contact.
I mean, I would argue, I'm going to interrupt you right there, and I would say that anybody who says that they're a medium and they're doing seances, I think they've made very hefty coin out of doing that very same thing. It's like, oh, you can't talk to the dead, and you're like, no, I can prove it to you. Here, pass some coin across my palm and I will show you how I can speak to the dead. Like, there's always been snake oil salesmen. Oh yeah. And the thing that makes them salesmen is the fact that they're able to sell people into it. And then we as humans, we gravitate towards people because we think they know something more, and you know, we're just community oriented people. So if you're somebody that went through trauma, or somebody who wants to see something you really, really want to experience and have that alien experience for whatever reason, you're going to gravitate towards people who might take advantage of you because you just want to believe so badly.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like, just like even just with Chrissy in my life, that the if anybody wants to get into this for the first time, there is such a welcoming and supportive and enthusiastic community to step into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason, like, no, spend 5,000. How many times have we've sat and we've had wonderful conversations with people all around the world, and they're like, oh, if you're in Virginia, we'll go UFO hunting. I'm like, down, let's do this.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, this community, I've never ever seen a community in just concepts of like marketing. And my day job is PR, and being in multiple different types of industries. This community is collectively works together really well, happy to share information, really wants to know the truth, is very indebted into that, which is really maybe not everybody, but majority of people I find.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a story that goes along with it. They're there to share their information. They're there to collaborate. They're really wonderful people. Like, the UFO community is really great. And then there's like tons of people that are really cool because they take their knowledge of things like aviation, physics, like it's communications, journalism. Like, there's so many people that come together to figure out one thing, or like one image, and they're like, take it apart and learn more about it and share information for each other. Like, people work at MUFON for free and like document UFO sightings. Like, it's really cool. And I've never seen an industry that has so many different types of people from industries that come together to like figure out something. And I love it because you also get to learn more about like history and all these other things, like talking to all of these people, because you're like, God, you're brilliant. Like, some of them are really, really bright, especially historians. Like ufologists are such historians. It's crazy. They can like name off dates and times, and you're like, how do you even know that? Like, that's the one thing I love about this. And the more I get into it, the more that I see people actually saying what you guys are saying too, about working together, trying to find a common ground and a truth. And it's really nice. I don't think I've met anybody, and maybe they just haven't told me, but that doesn't agree with that philosophy in that mind frame. And people just want to work together. Even when I'm in clubhouse groups, that's usually the consensus. We talked about once about like, how to make a better film, like what's the next film outside of the phenomenon, and like how do we do that, and like what's the themes that we talk about. And I was like, this is so great, like we're solving problems together and working together. Not everyone does that, but I think the greater masses of us do, which is really nice.
It is. It's super nice because it's almost like a world problem that a regular person can actually help with.
Contribute.
You can contribute and feel like, you can recycle and all that other shit, but it's so like, everything is so overly politicized nowadays that it's nice that UFOs, while it is becoming very politicized, it's still kind of like out in the outskirts, and like just as a regular person, you can do small things to contribute. Like Ben and I mean, we always say, look, we don't consider ourselves journalists. We're not researchers. We're not any of that shit.
We're doctor scientists.
We're doctor scientists. That's about it. And, we're just some regular dudes who have been fascinated by the subject since we were children and decided to become a mouthpiece for people, people who have stories and want to say stuff. There's little things that you can do all around the community. Like you said, filing paperwork, doing, working for MUFON, volunteering your time. Like, there's so much that you can still do in this community.
Artist rendering, social media stuff. Like, I'm terrible. So I need help bad. Like, you guys are talking about like PR. Man.
Yeah. It's true. The one thing I say about this community too is that we're all fighting. Like, I maybe shouldn't use the word fighting, but we're all trying to figure out something and drive towards, if it's activism or whatever it is, to something that we don't know anything about. Like, usually when they join movements or other things, they kind of know at the end they're fighting for, like PETA does, or like if it's climate change, like we know there's like there's a cause and effect and an end to it or something. We don't know here. We're just kind of like fighting for a phenomenon and something that we're not sure what the hell it is.
Right.
And I find that fascinating.
And
I said that, right. And I was like, it's so crazy to see all of us do this and why we do it. And then I was talking to somebody on the phone recently, and they brought up a really good comparison. So I forget the book name, and I've got to read it. It's something around the cosmos. But this woman like breaks down the culture of ufology and talks about how there are some people that find like, I don't believe that it's a religion, but there are people that created a religion around it. And so if you look at the fundamentals of philosophy, or sorry, of ufology, there is like this, because the end thing, we don't know what it is. It's a mystery, but we're all fighting around towards it or finding something out about it. But that's kind of what God is too, isn't it? And so when someone brought, right, I went, my mind just like blew up, and I went, what? And they're like, you got to read this book. And I said, 100%. I'm like, look at this culture. And it doesn't mean that I believe that you should worship UFOs or whatever extraterrestrial. I do not believe that. I tell people not to, if anything, and not put them on a pedestal. We're just trying to figure it out. But it's interesting just around the culture of something that most people have is a religion that they believe in. And ufology is similar to that, because people don't really know if God exists. They believe it does. And there's people that are atheists and agnostic and don't. And ufologists, the same thing. We don't really know what the end cause is.
Right.
Anyway,
that's
crazy,
so fascinating. Right? I've not thought about that.
I never did until like a couple of days ago. I was talking to someone and I said that point to them, and then they brought up that other point. And I've really got to read the book. And once I do, I'll tell you guys what the book is too.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't find out.
It's like this idea of like, well, religion, maybe I'm just dumbing this down for my own brain to realize it, but like their end goal is like, believe in this and, you know, follow these rules to get into to heaven. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with any other religion, but I think the end goal is like there's some place that you will go that's better than what you're doing now. I think at the root of it, we all kind of subconsciously know that we're moving towards this thing, and wherever we end up, we hope that it's going to be better than where we're at now. Maybe that's like the most dumb way to say it. I don't know.
No, it makes sense. We're all optimistic. I agree, because we're an optimistic community. We really are. You know, we work together. If we were pessimists, we wouldn't be working together so well and collaborating. So we're optimistic. So I think we're optimistic that the end is probably better than what we imagine it is, or that it's good. You know, I hope that it's good. I hope it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's the game of roulette.
Sorry. What?
Yeah,
How did
go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say yes, interesting. And let's sometimes I wonder, this is totally madly off in one direction. If we go back to ancient aliens and we go, the Mayans had believed that, you know, you had to make offerings to the gods. Again, gods everywhere. Potentially there are aliens. But sometimes when I'm like looking at some of the drawings on ancient aliens and some of the carvings of what could be depicting alien phenomenon, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what happens if they're just time travelers? What happens if it's just us that went back at one point in history? Like we evolved as humans, and we didn't have this belief in the other world. And then someone in the super future decided that they were going to time travel back in time. And then we created this loop where we were trying to decipher whether or not it was aliens, if it was gods, or if it was just us. I think about that. I also fantasize if I was time traveler, what I would do. And I often fantasize that I would go back in time and pretend I was a god.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much to that. Yes. Like the idea that a past, if time is not cyclical, a past timeline evolved without the idea of aliens or higher power. That's trippy to think about. Because that's not, we can't even really comprehend that. Like, because there's never been a time where no one believed in a higher power. I guess maybe there's somewhere in history, but you know, but for as long as history or humans been around, it's that. Oh, I love this. All right, I'm gonna have a fun time thinking about that.
But if you think about it too, if we evolved, if there is the first humans, kind of like at one point was, but was is not is, like it's like if you go back in time, if you think that the first human, if we start from the first time we evolved to the first time we started walking, and if we just remove any visitation or anything, and this entire population evolved without any religious curiosity, but only scientific curiosity, only the ability to try and improve and understand the world through experience, not through folklore and mythology, then they would, I would assume that they would naturally evolve to be a little bit more technologically advanced, because they don't have, there is no Spanish Inquisition to say that it's witchcraft. There is none of this other garbage that flies in that has prevented us, that has destroyed records, that has ruined our history over years. And it's truly, it's a civilization that is nurturing knowledge and exploration. Then when they, you know, evolve and then they go back in time, like why wouldn't they have discovered time travel to go back in time? And then once they did do that, that's when the butterfly effect happens, and they're like, oh, they must be, this must be God, or this must be one of the gods, and then we've just ruined everything.
I've got to
Marie's
think.
writing the next book.
This is like, I'm writing a sci-fi book
Marie's
now.
book.
Oh yeah.
This is Marie's folklore.
This is my Marie's
love
fantasy. Marie's fantasy.
I love the idea.
Marie's a
of-
very good storyteller in that. If you ask Marie to make up a story for you on social media or send her something, she will. She's a very good storyteller.
I do that on occasion. It's a lot of fun.
You do.
I love the idea of being able to time travel. Like as a human, you make it into, say, the year, say we made it into the year 2065, right? And you decide, oh my goodness, you find out that the world actually comes to an end in 2065. But you were able to come up with a time machine, and you hop in this time machine or learn how to time travel, and you go back to the 1940s. And then the knowledge that you have of technology, you take that with you to the 1940s and start society off with current technology from 2065 in the 1940s to help propel humanity into a spot to where the world doesn't end in 2065. And so if the world doesn't end in 2065, it's because you used current technology of the time and took it back to a place in time where we could understand it, and we're developing the material sciences to come up with this technology, and you actually save the planet that way, you know?
Dude. What if
We're having a really beautiful moment right now. I'm so into this.
Yes.
And I didn't do shrooms. I don't know about anybody else, but
There's-
I'm feeling this.
Not today.
There's a man by the name of Marshall Barnes, and he's a little out there, but he had come up with this idea where he feels like he actually may have figured it out. And he says that in the next few years, he's going to be going back to the 60s. And they were like, what are you going to do? And he's like, oh, I just have some personal business I need to take care of. And nobody knows what he's going to do, but he says that he thinks he's figured it out, and he's going to do it here pretty soon.
You know what he's gonna do in the 60s? What was going on in this?
he's
60s?
gonna create Berenstain Bears.
We know exactly why he wants to go back to the 60s. I don't believe that.
I think it was
It's like the same reasons we want to go back to the 60s.
I can imagine why most people would want to go back to the 60s.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
But the idea that he could take the knowledge of today back with him to the 60s, that would completely change the future of humanity. Like the way that that technology just is exponentially growing so fast. I mean, within the past year, there's been more technology leaps than there was in all of the 80s, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just in this past year. And it's crazy how fast it moves. And, you know, what was the tipping point for it to finally, you know, break that curve, to instead of curving at a slope, now it's just going almost straight up. It's insane.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. The rate of technology is, there was I remember I used to have a show called Nat and Marie, and we talked about digital culture and internet trends.
Yeah.
And on it we constantly explored the concept of Jesus, which was, they use it, there was, I can't remember who it was, like, it's a group of individuals or a group of somebody, and they used Jesus to describe technological advancements. And they said, up until our generation, for every generation leading up, there might have been one, there might have been two Jesus that appeared in their lifetimes. But for us, it happens, like, it's on a constant basis.
Right.
Like right now we're going through, obviously we're going through COVID, and there's the rise of Clubhouse. So that's another Jesus moment, because we are learning a new habit, how to interconnect with strangers and other people to build community. We're starting to build new habits. We as humans have evolved, this is a really interesting study, because I tried to do a marketing campaign around this very unsuccessfully for the Olympics. But we as humans have evolved as a result of text messaging and our phones.
Yeah.
That we can infer empathy from text. So if you send me a text message right now and you're like, I'm feeling happy, today is a great day, happy face emoji, I'll read that and I will feel happy as a result. So you can start improving other people's lives just through words. That did not happen to that degree.
Right.
We can infer what people's sentiments are from the words that they're sharing. That is an evolution. We as humans have evolved to put feelings and tones and intonations into the words that we're reading that did not exist. And I mean, even take a look, like maybe even our parents or our grandparents, when they're reading text, they don't interpret it. They can't read it in the same way that we can.
Right.
I can read a message from Chrissy and I'm like, oh, she's happy.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's not happy. She's not happy right now. Like I know what's going on. But my parents don't have that vibe. So it's like, it's crazy to think that we are evolving. We've had so many come to Jesus moments throughout our lifetimes. And the other thing that I think is really interesting that's floating in the back of my head that I'm just going to say is when I watched Jeremy's documentary on Bob Lazar, there's a moment that he was talking about a hand scanning device, because he was describing. And what I really took away from that is our cell phones are just it's just a glass screen on my cell phone, but if I put my thumb on it, it reads my thumbprint. Like, where did this technology come from? Look, if anybody's listening to that, they're like, Maria's gone, technology people, scientists figured this out
now.
But what happens if the scientists didn't figure out? What happens if we live in this beautiful, why can't I live in my sci-fi fantasy to say that the cell phone and the technology that's on my cell phone, that's in my pocket, that's future tech? Why? It's kind of fun to think that maybe this is alien technology that has somehow made its way into our hands.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that is a very probable idea,
Why not?
I mean, for them to say, who was it? Was it Eric Davis that said that we have craft not of this world?
The trumpet player?
And then for people, no, that's Miles Davis, bro.
Oh, sorry.
Close, but no cigar, dude. So for them to say, yeah, we have craft not of this world. We have craft? You didn't say we see craft not of this world. You said we have craft. And then you got this guy, Bob Lazar, saying, yeah, we got like 7 of them. And they're all sitting in this hangar.
And he said that they were an archaeological find.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course. I think there's a lot of technology that it was possibly come from this stuff. But then in the same token, when you flip it, we talk about the material science and how they pull it out every so often just to see if they can make it work. I mean, you had to figure that out first to even make it work. It's like trying to have an answer to a question you don't even understand yet. Like, how can you get an answer to something if you don't even know what the question is?
Totally.
And think about it too. We didn't have computers Apple computers, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. These guys came up around the same time. Computers are the way that they develop computers, their minds, their ability to create. I'm going to get flayed for not remembering Steve Jobs' partner's name, Steve Wozniak.
What? Nice.
Thank you.
I was going to butcher that, so I'm glad you said it.
I was going to say Steve Miller.
The trumpet player?
Yeah, great band. But yeah, so these individuals are great minds. They came up around the same time. They completely revolutionized and they made computers compact, more powerful, more receptive to us, intuitive to use. So to think that those minds were not being used by the government to help understand some of this technology,
Is that a conversation that's ever come out? Has anybody even wondered this? Because Steve Wozniak revolutionized like the computers that we have right now. It's all Steve. He did this.
Yeah.
So I think he would be gravely underutilized if he wasn't brought into the fold of the government to help kind of explain some technology, because his understanding of computer engineering is so advanced, or was so advanced at the time. Which also would explain why Apple had the iPod, because the iPod is alien technology. I'm just trying to create a storyline here that says that all of our technology is aliens.
So you could look at it in two different ways. From a government's perspective, you could say, you know what? I don't know much about this computer thing. We used it for this one thing, but it costs a lot of money. Let's put the money in more guns this year or this next 10 years. And then we don't have to fund it. So let's just let the people get a little further ahead instead of bringing them in. And then once the product is made, now they're buying from Alibaba. Let's get some more computers. Give me at a low price. I mean, that's how I would think about it. That's a possibility.
Yeah,
I guess.
Or they're just being contracted out by the government and you would never know it anyways.
Yeah, right.
Which is a big thing, which has got to be irritating because, Bob Lazar also talks about how, if you're a scientist and you work for these people, you only work on a certain section. So you have no idea what the other person is working on.
Yeah.
So it's hard to figure something out if you don't know what all the components are. You're literally not able to talk to the guy next to you. So you don't know what he's working on. So you don't know if that piece is going to make my piece work and how that piece makes my piece work. All I have to do is figure out how this piece is built and how that works. But it doesn't give you a full understanding of the entire scope of what you're doing. That's got to be so irritating as an engineer or a scientist to only have a small piece of the puzzle,
I found this peanut.
I think we have to go talk to DARPA then too, right? You look at they're the ones that are doing all the research over there and they know what's coming out. So I've never met anybody who's worked at DARPA, and maybe one day I will, but I'd like to ask their opinion because they would know, especially if they're higher up working there. Obviously they're not going to tell me what they're working on, but being hey, can you help me, shed a light on this conspiracy theory? Because not if they would even know, but I would hope that somebody within DARPA had, or they could say, yeah, here was the lineage or the timeline of things that were released, the internet, and where did it start? Obviously it started in World War II, I believe, or was it World War II or World War I? It was way advanced before we even got it as consumers. So I'd like to know, being can you give us a timeline of all technology products from Apple to you name it, and give us that timeline of when you used it in DARPA first, when DARPA used it, and then for military, the industrial military complex, and where do we have it now?
Yeah.
I bet you there's a book somewhere with that.
That's an awesome idea.
And that's one of the things too, is the idea is that, a lot of these contracts and military and government stuff, it all gets contracted out to private companies. So if you wanted to get information, you can't file a FOIA request or anything because it's a private company. They're the ones that hold all the information, not the government. They were smart about it.
Right.
We
could talk about the sexy part of this whole thing about the end result technology. I mean, that's awesome. A fun conversation. I think if we really want to find out, I think we start from the infrastructure around it. And I think maybe you know where I'm going with this. How did they get all of these technologies from one place to another? And we hear about these thing called DUMBs. Have you guys heard of DUMBs, deep underground military bases and tunnels?
I've heard of stuff isn't I know there's a conspiracy theory around is the Denver under the Denver airport?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
That's
I don't know much about it though. No.
That's kind of like the glaring whitehead on your on your forehead before prom night or whatever. Everybody sees that thing, but there's all kinds of things going on. I don't know, that's this.
Yeah, I mean the fact that there are deep underground military bases isn't a conspiracy theory. We know that those exist. The stories that go along with them are pretty wild and out there. But I mean, the idea that they can actually build full-on cities, Walmarts, you're talking towers, buildings, things like that are underground. If you go down, 15 floors. Yeah, that's quite a bit of room to build something,
right?
And we've even had people tell us if you have clearance to go anywhere below like
The 15th
the
floor.
15th floor, the 10th floor, you probably don't come up anymore. Like that's just kind of where you live at that point. There are scientists and military people who talk about, yeah, I have certain clearance. I can go down like 8 floors in this military base, but there's people that go down further that you just don't ever see.
It's actually petrifying though too, when it comes to that.
It is.
I try to stay on the other side as well, where I try like everyone loves a good conspiracy theory, but I also try to stay on the other side where I'm like, sometimes it's not as bad as we might make it out to be, because we love to do that as humans. We love to like put so much spin and things on it and to like glorify it and do those stuff so that it's like really fantastical. So I hope that, I do imagine there is a small group of intelligentas in the government that know obviously way more than the president knows. And,
Yeah.
We know that there's clearance and we know that. I just hope that the poor people aren't going down to, down to the 20th floor and never can come up and see the day of light. Like, I hope we're not that evil as humans that we do that to scientists and to other people.
Yeah.
So I don't know as much as that, but I bet you that for sure there's a high clearance in multiple ways. That's not my forte, but I can imagine that there is. And I would love to meet somebody who has one of the highest clearances ever. And they're obviously not going to tell you a single thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I would just like to meet them
But
and
what
get
if
to
they
know
did?
them, to see what type of person they were to get that job.
Have you ever heard of like the chimeras, like the mixing of animals and DNA to create certain things? Like people even take it back to like Egyptian, like they were like chimeras, where it was like, the head of a hawk, but like the body of a man or something like that.
Anubis.
There's a really, this is all speculation, but I think it's kind of a fun topic where they say that some of these deep underground military bases actually are the reason that things like chupacabras exist, the reason that things like Bigfoot exist, certain of these cryptids that exist in our culture and folklore, that they're actually responsible for that. And they're all chipped and have like a computer attached to them, basically. So what they'll do is certain times, it's like, how come I can go through the forest and don't see Bigfoot, but then you go through the forest and you saw Bigfoot? Well, certain times they let them on the surface to go and find food and eat things. And occasionally humans get in the crosshairs of these things that have come out of these deep underground military bases. And then when it's time for them to come home, they hit that friggin' button and they come back. Yeah.
I want to see that movie. It's a great movie plot.
So have you ever seen Cabin in the Woods?
No.
It's a movie called Cabin in the Woods, and it's like your typical.
Oh, is that with Ryan Gosling?
No. The guy from Thor's in it though.
Here's Ryan Gosling.
No, it's not Ryan Gosling.
Oh,
It's the other guy.
Oh.
It's the other handsome man.
Got it.
But no, so this movie, it's really trippy because it's your typical, Friday the 13th scenario. Group of teenagers get together, they go to a cabin in the woods,
Yes.
But then it kind of switches up because there's like this underground facility that manages all of these monsters underground. And so they'll make these gases come out of the ground and like people will smell it and they'll, not want to run or something like that. And it like all the baselines to a scary movie are basically like props that are put in certain areas. So the idea is that we release zombies and we release monsters and they're competing against like Japan and other, horror movie people all over the world. But the idea is that you have to find a sacrificial group to keep the gods happy. And there's this subculture of people that exist that know about this ancient secret. And that's the reason that bad stuff happens to people, is because they make it happen because you have to sacrifice the blood of humans in order to keep whatever this is, the gods, happy from destroying you. It's a pretty neat concept, but
I'm like, I hear what you're saying. I'm really stuck on, how did 5 college friends find the cabin? Was it like on Airbnb? Because
no stars.
it was
no stars. There's no one left to rate it.
It was apparently like handed down through the family, and it existed out by this lake, and nobody knew about it. And it was a new thing, and they were like, "Hey, my family apparently had a cabin like out in the woods like 80 years ago, and it still exists. Let's go see it." but that's the reason they don't live there anymore is because everybody died.
That's what, but they didn't. They somehow survived.
Exactly.
I'm noticing a plot hole. I'm gonna have to watch this film. I think it's very important. Earlier I was gonna make a joke. It's not funny anymore, but I still want to say it because it's about me. I was like, oh, chimeras. Oh, obviously they exist. You're talking to one right now. I have the face of the angel and a body of a goddess. Heyo.
Get it? Love that. Love that.
That's more like a light being.
Exactly. It's like a light being.
I'm trying to think.
You're a crystalline angel.
I have the face of a goose, the neck of a giraffe, and the body of a walrus. There you go.
That's good. That's good.
Like...
See, like we're getting off from on the right foot. I'm just like working out my what are some like good suitable pickup lines whenever I roll in with Chrissy to the UFO conference.
For UFO conference.
Yeah, what kind of pickup lines do you guys get at these conferences? I'm dying to know.
Oh, God.
I'm like, hey, so have you ever met a chimera before? Because here I am, face of an angel, body of a goddess.
There's too many inappropriate ones.
Yeah, you might make you might make like the wrong dude's head explode. Like he would like, wait, you said all the things that I love in one sentence? Are you kidding me?
You're gonna have a stalker on your hands.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man. Have you ever been taken?
This is gonna be fun.
No, I've never been taken. You want me to take you to the bar?
Done.
You like that? You like that?
I would. Let's go right now. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to. I live in Toronto.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh.
I'm sure you could make it, man. There's not like a wall up there. There's a wall on the southern border here, and like people make it all the time. I'm sure Canada's easy. You just walk across that shit.
We're actually, I'm leaving soon to go to the States in a little bit because we're still in lockdown down here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and stay in the States for about a month and get out of Canada for a little bit because we can't do anything here at all. Unfortunately, our numbers are too high and
well, that's crazy.
We just haven't really figured it out yet.
That's a bum bum.
Well, if you come to Texas,
we figured it out.
You can do whatever you want.
We have not figured it out.
Yeah,
that's another
politically
story.
They haven't. No.
They're reptilians, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Doug Ford and Justin Trudeau. I'll say that too.
Who's a reptilian?
Our prime minister and our premier. Right now, unfortunately, they've really put us in a position that we don't have any vaccines and all that kind of stuff. We're in a really bad position in Canada. Yeah, it's just really bad leadership. In the beginning, we're like, yeah, like we're amazing. And then it just went to crap. It just went to crap. And there's no leadership whatsoever right now in this country. It's really unfortunate. No, just literally probably Google Canada vaccines and you'll be like, oh my God, what's happening over there?
The joke
That's crazy.
is that the city of Toronto, no one can find out where to go to get vaccines. It's a problem. So there's like, I got mine. I'm good. I figured it out. But it's not clear because some places are pharmacies, some places are pop-ups, some places are drive-throughs, some are hospitals. And depending on where you fit, whether, you have to go to one location or the other, you can't just show up. You have to book an appointment. So it's steps. And some places run out of appointments. So if you run out, if it's like 7:00 on a Thursday or whatever the time is, and you don't book your appointment, you're SOL until they announce another pop-up to come up. So there's lots of these little problems. So the city of Toronto just announced the other day that this third-party independent site that just started was like a Twitter account called Vax Hunters. They're like, we're teaming up with Vax Hunters to get you the information you need. I was like, does anybody else not think that this crazy town that the government is just like so screwed right now that they have to just link up with a site that's only existed for maybe a month to try and get the information out because the government's not doing it. No one.
God.
They're like, guys, we tried. We tried.
There's
we're sorry.
There's like 20 or whatever. I know there's so many different websites. And then also the rules have changed. So if you live in a specific area, so technically across Canada, if you're 50 and above, you can get a vaccine. But then in specific parts of Ontario, you can be 40 and get a vaccine. If you live in specific hotspots, then it was down to 30. Now it's down to 18. But if you live in certain other parts of the country, you're SOL. Like there's all these like really loosey-goosey rules. And and then you also can't get a vaccine because we don't have any. And also you just don't know where to get it because there's like 20 websites to go to.
Well, truthfully, like everybody we're joking because Atlantic Canada has the bubble, and they're laughing. Everyone's vaxxed. BC's vaxxed. Everyone else in the country is good to go. And then there's like Ontario. We're all like,
I mean, you guys had us beat.
I don't know what's going on.
You
but
guys,
not
cool.
really.
Like, well, with the free healthcare and all that, you guys had us beat for so many years.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah. Well, see, what happened was, there's like, I don't know how to describe this, like in a way that makes sense, but
to us,
we elected
Americans.
an idiot. I think he's probably the dumbest man in the world as our premier. I don't know why they thought that was a great idea. He is the brother of Rob Ford, who was the media sensation in the States because he was a crack addict. So
I love the expression on your faces, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, you
was
could
our
probably
mayor.
build a lot of
I mean,
cars in a Ford factory if you're on crack. You probably build them very fast.
Very, very
we have
fast.
Hunter Biden, so he's a crack addict sensation too. I mean,
We don't have a lot of winners on this side of the wall either.
That's it.
There's
It's
no
like
wall. What am I
it's
talking
just so I mean, in terms of the timing for the aliens, it's probably a great time. Like, just come down, rock out with us. This is a great time. We're all bored. We're looking for a party. You have lights on vehicles that hover. We could have an outdoor rave, no problem. Just bring it.
I mean, like, aliens are so stingy about their light shows, man. Like, come on, we're trying to have a good time out here.
I know you could do some cool shit.
I know you can make some cool shit happen. I want to see Planter's Peanut Man with the monocle dancing above my head.
It's like, well, I've never even seen that color. What is that?
What is that? It's Planter's Peanut Man color.
See?
No one's ever seen it before.
I get it.
Like, there's this. We could have some fun. I mean, it's about time. It's about time. Although, I don't know. I mean, we're just gonna have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a little bit of our troubles.
Yeah, like what if, like, I mean, you think about, like, when you talk about like Europeans coming over to the Americas and like spreading their diseases, like if an alien race were to come down to the earth and like
now, like back in the day,
like both, dude, like, oh my god, like, dude, like, would we give them some crazy shit? Like, would they be like, oh my god, I've got COVID now? Or would they bring some stuff to us, like this new whatever, like, I don't know.
oh my god, I got jujubes.
I mean, here where we are in Texas, I mean, you could, like, they're literally like, hey, have you got your shot yet? Because if not, like, you should come over here and come get it. Like, we've got extras. We've got a lot of extras. Just come and get it.
Yeah,
I
think I heard somebody got one of theirs in an Applebee's the other day.
Probably, dude.
Like,
they're just setting up everywhere. Like,
come on now,
let's go get a shot.
That sounds amazing.
Ben, you got your shot, right?
I got one of them.
You got one of them.
I got one.
You're poisoned. You've been poisoned.
How's your cell phone? How's your cell phone reception? Good?
It's
Better?
terrible. I ran out of minutes.
Okay, so the 5G myth is busted right there.
I was paying like $200. This is a terrible story. I was paying way too much money for my cell phone bill, so I went down to like the minimum, and like my wife and I went on a road trip, and I used all my data. So my cell phone reception is terrible. And I don't know if it was COVID or me.
Does this reception have to do with data though?
It might have to do. Oh, that's a good question.
No, it's just cell phone towers. But we know that these cell phone towers are also technology for triangulating UFOs when they come into the atmosphere. So if you have bad cell service, it's probably because all of that energy is being directed to finding out whatever that is that just came into the atmosphere.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. I haven't heard about that yet. I thought it was because of masturbation propulsion technology.
Yeah, dude. Balskin Company & Co.
Yeah.
Balskin. That's a company that Ben and I have been working on. We also have a To the Farts Academy of Farts and Science. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. www.tothefartsacademy.com.
Yeah.
And we're looking for team members. So if you ladies are interested, let us know.
Yes.
And we can obviously add you onto the
Let's
the
go
group.
back. What was the other association called?
Balskin Company & Co.
Balskin.
Yeah, we're researching development with masturbation propulsion technology.
Masturbation propulsion technology. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's a lot of energy.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of energy in there, and why can't we harness that to traverse space?
And the idea comes from that little device that you can put on your wrist, and if like I think it was started by Pornhub, when you masturbate, like it actually charges your computer, so you don't have to use like wall energy, plug-in wall energy. It's like, dude, if you're making enough energy to like watch, high quality 4K, for 45 minutes on your laptop and not kill a battery, you got to be doing something. That's quite the amount of energy that you're producing.
These are facts. You guys are putting in the man hours.
Yeah.
Doing the research. This is science, guys.
I mean,
this is how all great ideas start.
We're doing
now.
the Lord's work, honestly. Yeah. I mean,
if you are doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he would want.
Some would argue not, but I mean, some would argue yes.
What would Jesus do? I have the bracelet. It doesn't charge my laptop, which sucks. But
you're talking about different bracelet. I got one. Okay.
Good times, guys.
Yeah, you guys.
So, what's up?
Man, I don't know. I don't know how much time you guys have, or we didn't talk about time limits or anything like that. But I feel like we've reached the the pinnacle.
We started at 8:30, so we ended at 11. Well, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time here.
The moment we got into masturbation propulsion technology, then I was like, and the moment where I had my my joke in my head where I was like, okay, I'm gonna start making a dirty joke in a second. We need to stop this very soon.
Go for it. We're not monetized or anything.
Yeah, this is what the show's about.
We did say whatever we want, and that's why we have such a good time.
Yeah.
No, I was just joking the other day. I got sick after I got the vaccine, and I was saying that why is it the only thing that came hard and fast in me since 2019, the COVID vaccine sickness?
Yes. Oh no, that's hilarious and sad. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, that's basically my life right now. It's hilarious and sad.
I hope you tweeted that because I'm
definitely
gonna go heart that after this.
Oh.
I did. Please do. Please retweet. I mean, that's exactly. If I go viral, let me go viral once.
Hell yeah.
It needs to be a mission statement of some sort.
Yeah,
for sure.
I know, right?
This is the header of the website. Oh man, make a COVID, just like what to expect, blog or whatever.
If you're experiencing these symptoms, please retweet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Loneliness.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, ladies, it's been such an awesome time. I wanted to give y'all this little opportunity to kind of promote y'all's stuff and tell everybody where they can find y'all and where they can listen and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can check me out at let's go individual and then we'll do the show.
For sure.
You can come and check me out. My Instagram is Karma Cake, KarmaCake. It's like good karma and delicious cake. And you can also check me out on Twitter for my hilarious tweets, which is karmacake.ca. It's all spelt out. And Chrissy?
I am Miss Vocab, MISSVOCAB on Instagram, Twitter, and also all social media places. You can find me there.
Yeah. And then you can also listen to us. We have our show Alt Pop Repeat at altpoprepeat.com. That's ALTPOPREPEAT.com. And obviously, where can you find us on social, Chrissy?
At Alt Pop Repeat on Twitter and Facebook, but on Twitter and Instagram, but on Facebook, it's Alt Pop Repeat, the podcast. Because I think that's the only, but I think maybe there was another Alt Pop Repeat, Marie, before we got that. But
I think there was something.
Well,
there
you guys crushed those people.
Want to follow stuff on ufology and UFOs, mainly UFOs. You follow me because I do some work with the Debrief as well too. So I contribute with them every Friday. And then just doing live podcasts and live interviews with them as well too, with people from the ufology community.
And you can also check us out on Clubhouse at Alt Pop Repeat. We have a club there once a month. We're hosting, we're hoping to do it more if it's possible, but we are always going to be hosting events with guests from our show. And guests on our show have included Rain Maida from Our Lady Peace. We've had Tommy Chong, Coolio. We have had, oh my gosh, you name it, Dave Foley, Jeremy Corbell. Lots of incredible talent have joined us, and we're going to be doing our best to book them up in our Clubhouse. So join our group and you can come and chat with us and them. Why not?
Yeah. That Biff Naked episode y'all did was awesome.
Oh,
Oh,
Biff.
thanks.
That
You should
was-
get
I'm like,
Biff
are you
and
guys in Clubhouse? Because you should come and we should all do a fun Clubhouse, like just pop up room together one day.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
so much
sick.
fun.
I
Yeah.
grew up. I was a punk rock kid, so I love that.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Well, let's see if Biff's around and we can all do one together.
That would be sweet.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll let you know when we'll bring you guys into the Biff one.
That would be awesome, man. That would
Yeah.
be super cool. Heck yeah. Well, hey, it's been awesome hanging out with y'all. I hope y'all come back sometime. Good luck with all y'all's ventures and what y'all are up to. Good luck with the whole finding the good sex thing. I hope that works out.
Thank you.
You know, I'm sure you
Thank
could just
you.
probably walk outside. I mean, I'm sure you'll find somebody.
Well, you'd think it would be that easy. I had a lead not too long ago, but I lost it. I think I let him know that I actually liked him, and I think that's where it went wrong. But
oh,
regardless,
what a loser.
it's loser, right? It's
You,
done
you can
now.
do it.
Let's,
Okay, I'll sleep with his friend.
Let's hashtag that guy. Hashtag
No,
loser.
no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I won't. I'm not. I'm not. I just say it facetiously. Not actually going to. I'm gonna die a virgin. It's fine.
Oh. We'll leave that alone.
Well, if anything, you guys could come and be council people on Balskin and Company and Co. or to the Farts Academy.
Yeah.
You know, with the many sciences that you do know and the people that you do.
Y'all are official
talk to,
Dr.
so.
Scientists now that
Oh.
y'all have been on the show.
Yeah, so
just in case you didn't know that.
we're sending you T-shirts after this. Just let me know what address to send them to because you're official Dr. Scientists.
I
That's
love
amazing.
this.
Yes, I love it.
Finally, I'm a doctor scientist.
I know you guys have been trying
Up to
forever.
the day, Marie. It's been the day. You just needed to do this show, and you're officially a Dr. Scientist.
See, people don't
We
realize
both
it's
are.
that easy, but
Yeah.
it is. And a lot of times
Have a
you're
Dr. Scientist christening
Yeah.
in my place.
you ever been to
Yeah.
the doctor and they're like, well, I mean, just go home and like take a nap. You're like, well, fucking, aren't you a doctor? Can't you come up with something better? Like, give me some medicine.
No, you go to CVS, get that thing that you have already in your cabinet. Just eat that.
Tylenol.
Thanks.
Hell yeah.
Here's $2,000.
Sorry, we do this.
Yeah.
We keep the show going even after
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
over. So.
Don't worry, it's like that wonderful period whenever you're about to leave a friend's house
Yeah.
and your shoes are on and your jacket's on and you're standing in the doorway, but the conversation just doesn't stop and you're like, I really need to go to the washroom, but I also really want to go home. Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
It's
hey,
awesome.
If y'all are ever come to Texas, I mean, Austin's a pretty cool place. If y'all ever come down and visit, y'all hit us up. Let us know. We'll go out,
Beers
get some
and
barbecue,
barbecue.
beers, and
Yes.
whatever you're into. I mean, we live here, so
Yeah.
we'll be here.
We've met so many people recently from Texas.
we love
Honestly,
Texas.
I know. I'm like, Marie, we have a list of people in Texas that we need to go visit because it's like adding up.
Texas
And
tour.
Yeah.
I love it. Honestly,
Texas
like
tour.
that's what I was going to ask you at the end of this. I was like, where do you guys live? And I'm not surprised it's Texas.
Yeah, Austin,
Because
Texas. Yeah.
that's where everybody is that we've been talking to in the States recently with all Pop Repeat.
Hell
Yeah, we get along really, really well with people in Texas.
Yeah, we're like one of the only states that's like doing stuff right now. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, whatever you were doing like before all this shit, just go do it. Go do it now.
Go do
So yeah, come and hang out with us, man. We'll have some fun. We'll go like look at
Yes.
UFOs. I mean, I don't know if we'll find them, but we can go look. So
we will.
Totally down.
Disco.
awesome.
So
awesome.
down, you don't even understand. I am ready to bounce.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, all right. It has been awesome.
It has been a
And,
pleasure, ladies.
We hope we get to talk to y'all again.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
This
y'all want
was awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
absolutely. Yeah, y'all want to do the outro with us? We usually just like start humming and then
We make a bunch of random noise, you know?
and then we
Oh,
say this has been
that's
another episode of UFO Garage. 1, 2, 3.
This has been another episode of UFO Garage. Talk to you next time. Peace.
Nice.
You guys are awesome.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. We good?
Man, yeah, thank y'all so much. All right, so yeah, we're good. We're done recording and everything, so we're still live on YouTube. You want to hang around and chat for a little bit and let the ladies go? And
Yeah, we can chat with some of these
Okay,
people for
cool.
a little bit.
Okay. Okay, bye,
Dope.
guys.
All right.
All right.
Hey,
Bye. Thanks
All
so
right.
much for having us.
thank y'all.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
That was cool, man.
Dude, that was awesome, man. Let me make. Do I still have it open? I don't know. Yep.
Sweet.
Sweet. Dude, that was fun. They were awesome, man.
It was fun. Yeah.
Sheesh.
It's cool how we were like able to like get into the topic a little bit. It was fun. I was a little nervous. I was like, well,
yeah.
But I didn't realize that she worked with the debrief.
Dude, me either. What the heck?
That's pretty
awesome.
interesting. So that was cool. Yeah, yeah. I love getting to just have like chit chat conversations.
Yeah, well, it's always going to be a little nerve wracking when you don't really know somebody yet. I mean, I think that it's like so chill. Like those chicks are just amazing. So much knowledge and like well spoken. They speak so well. But yeah, we got out a lot of different ideas that's been kind of swirling in my head at least this week.
I really loved her story about like having like those white beings like meet her and like she felt good about it. It's almost like, and then she started talking about star seeds and stuff like that. It's like, well, maybe that was your star family that you met, like where you originally came from, and that's why you felt so good about it, you know?
Dude, yes. It's like how many people would we talk to that have had similar experiences where like I guess you already said this, but like childhood, like growing up, and there's got to be something to it. This structured sit down or almost regathering of like, hey, let's check in on these kids. You know what I thought about? I didn't bring it up because I don't have enough information. I just saw this thing on Netflix. It was this documentary about this like set of twins that finds out that they have a twin. So they were
triplets
separated at birth. Oh, was it triplets?
They ended up being triplets. Yeah.
Yes. And they were separated at birth, all of them.
And it was a study that
it was a fucking study,
a scientific study that was done on separated twins and triplets and shit.
Yes.
And how they
and they weren't the only triplets and twins.
Yeah, they put them in a low income family, a middle income family, and a high income family to see how they would all develop as individuals.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I think Joseph Lamont is the one who tipped us off about that documentary.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Joseph, dude.
Also, Cloudy with a Chance of UFOs.
Cloudy with a Chance of UFOs.
Texas does have the best barbecue, hands down.
Hell yeah.
I agree. I smoked some ribs last week. They were pretty okay.
Dude, those ribs were so good.
They were. That brisket, I wish I could have got a little more tender. I need to get like the full thing because that was like a little center cut, so there's not a lot of marbling and like fat in there, so it's a little more tough. But you know what? It tasted good though.
The flavor was outstanding, like the beef flavor, dude.
Yeah.
Holy, it was like I was eating a bowl of pho. Like, have you ever had pho? You know, like the soup.
No.
It's fucking awesome. It's like noodle, like Vietnamese noodle soup, but like it's a mouthful. Anyway, it tasted really good. But I agree, like there's something about that cut where it needs to have a little bit of a in between the meat fibers a little bit.
Have you ever heard of the comedian Chris Porter?
No.
He's hilarious, dude. He has this joke about pho, and he's like, I want to start a pho shop, and the whole thing is when you come in, we ask you what you here for, and you say pho, and we say pho, yeah, and it's a buffet.
That's a joke?
Yeah.
What the pho?
Oh man,
dude,
yeah, that was
amazing.
it. That was a good little episode, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
sorry we didn't get to comments.
I didn't want to like. Our conversation was so interesting. I didn't want to like. I don't know, Dave. I don't know how Dave Scott from Space Out Radio does this. Like chat and pay attention to what.
And there's two of us, so like.
Yeah, one of us should be able to do it, but I can't.
I can't.
You can try. I'll give you the reins. I'll give you the keyboard, but dude, I can't do it. Because you know me, dude. I'll come back in and like, what? What are you guys talking about?
What'd you say?
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm just like scrolling back up and just trying to like read some shit because Will said it's the biggest, baddest banner ever behind you right now.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, that's what's up. Hey, we're all about branding. We're branding experts here at UFO Garage, dude.
Because if you had to look really close to figure out what it was, you know what it is.
Dude,
right?
check this out. What? Oh, dude.
Hey, look at that.
That's cool. Oh, 2-car. Oh,
Dude,
God.
We're handsome.
Oh, God. Oh, now it's too close. Okay. Bobby.
Yeah. That's cool.
Okay. Man, this is gonna take me forever to like scroll through. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. I mean, like, there's 10 people in the chat, and like that's more people than we ever have at live shows.
Yeah,
so.
we had like 14 at one point.
Yeah, dude,
so that was cool. It's growing.
Dope, man.
It's growing. Our second time.
It's growing, dude.
It's growing.
Scrowing, dude.
Scrowing.com.
Dude, it's I love I love that we snuck in at the very last minute with Chrissy and Marie, the Balskin Company and Co.
And they took it so well. We should have just started off the show with
I know,
masturbation
man.
jokes.
I don't know if that would have turned it, because they don't really know that us, and I don't know. I feel like
we said some smart shit first. You have to say smart shit first, and then you can talk about masturbation.
Exactly.
And then attractive ladies will laugh at it. You have to do that first.
Yeah.
So dudes, if you're listening, hey, it's a lesson. It's a lesson to you. If you want to talk about masturbation, say some smart shit first.
Hey, saw some smart stuff.
So.
Ha. Here's some JFK talk. Here we go. Oh, there's some. It was a long time ago. I don't know. Is this even helpful for me to go back or just?
I don't know.
All right, I'm just gonna keep go to the front. Okay, you guys, sweet. Oh, Chrissy Newt, yes, she's in the chat. What's up? Thank you so much for that was so fun. You guys. She was just saying, love you too. Such fun show. That's so awesome. Man. Yeah, is Dave? Yeah, Dave's still in the house. What's up, dude? And Will, oh my goodness. Oh, Marie's in the chat. What's up, girl? Hell yeah. Yeah, so we were just talking about like sneaking in our side project, the Balskin Company and Co. and To the Farts Academy. To the Farts Academy is a real website. I'm surprised we haven't gotten that taken down yet. I can't remember who it was, but they were saying like, y'all are poking the bear with that, like okay, it's parody. We're not making fun of anybody. It's just like To the Stars Academy. Like, come on, To the Farts Academy. It's so much funnier, right? We're having fun, right? People are too serious sometimes.
Hey, did you take the comment section off To the Farts Academy?
Yeah, dude, because I was yeah.
You should put it back. It's hilarious.
All right. Did you see the one that was like? It was the username was like FBI and it said take this shit down.
Yeah. That was awesome. I love that.
Take this shit down. Yeah. Lewis, yes sir. Dude, the live was fire. It was awesome to have you guys in. I mean, I could feel your energy. I couldn't see what you guys were saying, but I could see little pops and poops here a little bit. And just kind of knowing you guys were in, just kind of, it was fun, man.
It was fun.
I love doing the live thing.
It was a good time. Spaced Out Radio. Hell yeah.
Dave.
I'm hanging out. Nice. What's up, dude? Round table tomorrow. Hey, yeah, we're going to be on the round table tomorrow on Spaced Out Radio. My God. Make sure you guys check it out.
Round table tomorrow. Spaced Out Radio.
Omar Phillips is going to be there.
Are we talking about love? And you say,
feel love.
I said, love.
Feel love.
Talking about Dave.
Scott.
Dave.
Scott.
Dave.
Scott.
Dave.
Scott.
How about well, I guess Dan's not gonna be in there, but that's a fun song that we know. Who else is gonna be in that so we can shout them out real quick? Oh wait, I gotta switch over. Here we go. But dude, this is gonna be fun, man. Dave's been doing this round table for a little while, and we were on one like a couple months ago.
Yeah, dude.
And
it was fun.
Dude, it was so much fun. I remember, I can't remember if it was the night that he needed like a backup guest or if we were on the round table, but I was just so excited that I just started talking and I didn't know what I was going to say. And I was like, anyway, so did anybody follow that? And like, my ADD brain just like went in like 4 fucking squiggly cues. Just did not. Anyway, thanks for being nice to me, Dave. I appreciate it.
I'm telling you, dude. You just think about the question and stick to the question.
It's so hard.
It's so hard to
I
stick
think of
to
so
the
many
question.
ideas.
I know, because it's like rabbit holes, tangents.
Yeah. Lynn's gonna be in there. Yes,
Lynn.
Tomorrow. Lynn. Oh. And yeah, dude, and Lex,
Yep, I haven't met him yet.
Yeah, haven't met him yet. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
And Brian.
And Brian.
Brian will be there.
It's Brian.
It's B-Ray.
Yes, B-Ray. Yes. Yeah, dude. The so also, man, we really didn't even mention the unidentified celebrity review. Man, those guys really pulled off something special last week. I mean, we really didn't know because we found out about it like Friday night, and then it was Saturday during the day.
Yeah.
Hey, and Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review was like, "Hey, come be a part of this thing." And Dan Warren had, our good buddy that had heard about it already. So I was like, "Hey, check us out on this thing." And he had already done a TikTok on it. So this became this huge thing. But man, it's cool seeing what's happening, dude. Like, yeah, we got to meet so many awesome people and kind of network. And got to get into a couple of emails that we probably wouldn't have had we not. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have some guests lined up, but I'm pretty stoked about.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting month coming up for sure.
It's gonna be a huge,
it's
huge
gonna
month.
be fun.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, we were talking like, dude, we're gonna have to start doing this more than once a week.
I know. There's quite a few people coming up.
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah. So next week we're having Lou on from the Unidentified Celebrity Review. That'll be a gas. That'll be fun.
It's gonna be a real gas, kid.
Gas. We're gonna have a lot of farts. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna fart.
We got Geraldine coming on.
Geraldine Orozco's coming on.
Yep. That's gonna be pretty sweet. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
Lou Elizondo is gonna be coming on.
Elizondo is gonna be coming on.
Yep. Stoked about that one.
We got some pretty awesome ones, man. I'm excited to talk to him about the Impala.
Dude, I know. Yeah. So that's one of the main reasons why he was. I mean, they were like, dude, Lou's a huge car nut. And back again, referencing Dan Warren, he's the guy who was like, hey, y'all should reach out to Lou. He's like accepting all these interviews with podcasts. Also, he's a gearhead. You should mention that in your email, which I did. And I think that's one of the reasons why they got back to us, dude. Because we mentioned like, hey, we like cars, dude.
I was like, hey, Lou, you want to like maybe help us build an Impala with all that secret technology that you know about that you can't talk about, that you're not going to tell us about, but then like, if we hang out and like we drink some beers, maybe like you'll tell us a little bit about it.
1, 2, 3, tell me now.
Tell me.
1, go.
Ready?
You will tell me now.
Ready? Go.
Now you will tell me.
Yeah. Lou's gonna have fun on our show, dude.
Yeah, dude. I think so, man. Yeah. Van Gogh says, "Get in, losers." Love that.
Yeah. We're gonna be like, hey, Lou. So I know that you can't answer a lot of questions, but you can say no. Just make sure you wink if it's actually a yes.
Yeah.
We won't tell anybody.
Yes. Dude. Also,
I'm gonna need you to sneeze.
And also we've got another roundtable coming up Sunday. Are we doing that?
I'm not sure if Gary was able to get off or not.
Okay, so I did read in our chat that Gary had something going on, Gary Voorhees, and we were going to do that with Bob, Band of Bearded Brothers, Will and Micah and them, and then What If Tomorrow podcast with Phil and Mark. We were going to do this roundtable like we did it was like a couple months ago, same kind of deal. Will, let us know if that's still on, dude. I guess we could like I could text him, but anyway.
Who did I say? Try talking to
Gramerica?
Oh, I thought he said try talking to Jamiroquai. I was like, hell yeah, I love Jamiroquai.
Ooh, wait.
Yes.
That guy. All right. With the hat. The fuzzy hat.
Yeah, with the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Pamela Anderson hat.
Look at me, I'm Jason Mraz.
Look at me, hey. Yeah, pop music can sometimes set me off because of my MK Ultra training. It trips me out. What about this song?
I felt so bad.
This is my favorite pop song of all time.
It's one of those moments where I just start fucking talking and I don't know what I'm gonna say. And then for some fucking reason, I decided to sing to Samantha Moat, who had just told us that she gets triggered by pop music. And I sang a fucking pop music song. So dumb.
You were like,
so dumb.
I have to be really careful with what I listen to nowadays because it'll trigger me. And Ben's all like, oh, you know what my favorite pop song is right now?
Dude, I didn't mean it, okay?
That shit was hilarious.
I didn't mean it.
Let's see. What
Tammy,
else?
Tammy,
Tammy,
baby, where you been yet? Okay, I gotta stop singing. I gotta stop doing that. Yeah, dude, this is fun. This is cool. A little chat thing, man. This is cool.
Tammy's gonna be making snacks in the morning, prepping for Friday, dude.
What?
Yeah.
What kind of snacks?
I don't know, Tammy. What kind of snacks are you gonna be making?
Snacks you got going on? We're gonna wait. we will wait.
We're not saying anything.
Dave said he's just talked to Samantha. Man, yeah, I hope she's doing good. We gotta catch up with her, man. I hope she's doing good.
Do.
I had this moment where I was thinking back to one of Dave's stories, or when he witnessed, these ET with Samantha Mowat, like in the woods. And we talked about this earlier with the ladies about being frozen. Like if you ever saw an ET. And Dave has an amazing story. If you guys are interested, go check out the show and listen to it. But yeah, my wife and I were on this road trip. We were in Arkansas near Devil's Den. I'm already kind of spooked out. And we were staying at this Airbnb where there's like 6 acres of woods and there's really nothing around. And I just got this creepy feeling like, man, what if I just looked out towards these trees and I saw some ET? Like, what would I do?
Crash.
But I'm like standing though.
Oh, I thought you were driving.
No. I
zoned out. I was reading. She said she's gonna make brownies and popcorn.
Oh,
hell yeah, dude! Brownies are delicious.
Dude.
Popcorn might get a little stale. You're gonna be making popcorn all day, but that's cool.
Your house is gonna.
I like popcorn.
Smell.
Yes, cloudy with a chance of UFOs. Virtual insanity. That's the Jamiroquai song we were talking about with the hat.
What is it?
Virtual insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I'm done singing. What's pickled onion monster munch? What? Pickled onion monster munch? Well, it was the monster munch. Love that.
Well, it's the munch. Ba, 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 ba. The monster munch.
Dude, that's not pop. We could sing that to Samantha.
Yeah, we could.
That's not pop. It is the only Halloween song that we know the words to, though. What other Halloween song do you know the words to?
That's it, dude. There was this song that we used to sing when we were like 8 in choir, and it was like, "There's a black cat in a witch's hat, waiting for Halloween. Meow." And there's a black
You're making this up,
cat.
aren't you?
No, I swear. It's a real song. Just like, remember 50 nifty United States from 13 original colonies. Shout 'em, scout 'em, tell 'em all about 'em. I don't remember the rest, but...
And then we're eating brownies.
It rhymes, dude.
And you could put your weed in them, dude.
You can put your weed in there.
You could put your weed
Chips,
in them, dude.
crisps. Chips, crisps, boys. Google it. Oh yeah, crisps are you a UK thing?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Crisps.
We got somebody in the house. Clouded with a chance of UFOs is from the UK, dude. That's cool. Like, man, across the pond. That's cool. That's cool. You never think about like other people that aren't. I always think like everybody that's listening to us is just in the United States, or now we know there's like people in Canada, dude.
Oh, dude, I know the Canadians, dude.
Yeah, the Canadians.
They're starting to like the show.
That's
dude,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
Van Gogh says, I need to build a UFO response vehicle just to chill in the middle of nowhere. Hell yeah. I mean, I think you could do that in like a Honda, but like a UFO response vehicle should totally be a thing. That's what the Impala is going to be when we get it. It's going to be a emergency UFO response vehicle.
Reconnaissance.
That only goes like 65. It's an emergency. We're on the way. We're on the way, fool. Go faster. I can't, fool.
I can't, fool. It's so fast it goes.
Lou Elizondo won't tell us about the technology that goes on the UFO to make it hover.
He won't tell us the technologies, bro.
And we tried to see if he would be part of Balskin, and he wouldn't.
Are we gonna ask him that? Dude?
Oh, we're totally gonna ask him if he'll be part of To the Farts.
Dude, I think we gotta massage it a little bit. Massage the idea. Let's not start with that.
We can end it like we did this one with Balskin. We can end it with asking him. We got to be able to do a screen share so we can see what we're talking about.
Yes, we do.
That's gonna help him make his decision. Can we screen share with everybody right now?
we can do
Yeah.
that.
Hey, if y'all haven't checked this out, definitely go and check this out.
We're poking the bear here, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
It's good stuff, and you need to know about it. I mean,
All right. I mean, this is like.
if you'd like to be a member, let us know.
Oh, I hope we don't get in trouble. I mean, dude. We're just having fun. But look,
You're not gonna get in trouble.
so the Farts Academy of Farts and Science focuses on 3 key areas. Number 1, waft and sniff, stinky little poots.
2, develop databases of all the farts.
Number 3, share with humanity these smelly toots. This is ask us questions. Okay. An experienced team from across the butt members.
It's just us.
Remember when I was making this and like how I was just giggling.
Bro, we were laughing the entire time.
Yeah, we were like crying laughing as we were making this, dude.
So as you can see, I'm the chief poot scientist, and Ben is chief fart strategist.
Yeah.
We stay pretty busy for
Yeah.
the most part.
So we're working on unlimited power.
Yeah.
Secret of an unlimited power source lies right between your own butt cheeks. So yeah, unlocking potential.
Have you experienced powerful hip lifting farts? We have too. And we believe booty gas is the future of not only propulsion technology, but a potential replacement for electricity itself. Our research is working towards discovering a world where stinky little poppers and big smelly doinks are the key to unlocking a brighter, cheaper, although stinky, future for mankind. So stay tuned for more.
Big smelly doinks, dude. Oh man, that's so fun. Like it's literally like, as a kid, did you ever like, I mean, dude, like draw funny cartoons and shit?
Yeah.
That's the one. Like, but we're grown adults making websites. I don't know. I don't know if I've grown up at all.
I remember one time we were drawing this funny picture where like we would start and then like you would pass it around and like you got in
like,
trouble because like a teacher like picked it up and like they got mad at me because like it was like this Irish dude with like these, not like Irish dude, but like it was started out as like a regular person and then just ended up with this hat with a clover on it. It wasn't like an Irish guy, but
Okay.
the hat bit, and then like I put a wiener on it, and then the teacher picked it up, and like I got in trouble for the entire drawing just because I put a wiener on it, and it was funny.
But every drawing's funnier with a wiener on it.
It is. It's hilarious. And then Sister Carita, she was all mad and shit. Yeah,
That lady was evil, dude.
bro. Because I used to go to this private little Catholic school when I was a kid.
I went to St. Mary's for a little bit too.
And yeah, and you know what they don't find funny? Dicks. They don't think dicks are funny at all.
Dude, how do they even know what one looks like?
I don't know. Yeah, they're nuns. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but most nuns are whores before they become nuns.
Bro, you're not supposed to. Well, it's not like they're ever gonna hear this. They don't know none.
I don't know if you know this, but they're definitely
Like it's true.
Nuns,
Like we're.
nuns used to be dick koozies before they were nuns. All right.
Oh God.
They're just keeping the cool dicks cool.
Okay.
All right. And then they were like, "What am I doing in my life? I need to become a nun. I've been a dick koozie my entire life."
Oh my God. So they do know what wangs look like.
I guess so.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, now I know.
Now you know, dude.
Sorry, I'll be just shut you. I'm uncomfortable with like I'm visioning Sister Carita, but like sexy. She's like 80 years old, dude.
Oh, I think
She's
she's
probably
like
like
90, like
95,
120
bro. Yeah.
years old by now. She
Yeah.
was like 80 years old when I was 8.
That's right.
And I'm
She
in
was
my
old as
30s.
hell when I was there.
That's why she was so scary. She reminded me of the Trunchable. Just not like big and like she probably didn't shot put.
Wait, the what? What is it?
The shot put.
The Chancho Bowl?
What?
You said she reminded me of the Chancho Bowl.
The Trunchable from Matilda.
Oh my God, Mrs. Trunch.
Yeah, dude, the Trunch.
Dude.
Remember? She was all mean and
Oh my
stuff.
gosh, she was mean.
And she
though,
was like
dude.
mean to Magnus.
Yeah. Remember that cake looked so good, dude.
Oh,
I wanted that
dude.
cake, dude. I still want that cake.
I was so jealous of Ralphie when that fool got to eat the cake. I was like, man, Ralphie gets to eat that whole cake by himself. She was like,
Man.
finish it. He was like, ah. He licks the plate.
He's like, ah,
to the chokey with ya. Dude.
That's a dark movie, but also like
Very cool.
very fucking cool.
And a badass soundtrack, too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Also, Danny DeVito's in that movie.
Yeah.
I think didn't he like write and direct it, or
think
maybe
so,
directed
dude.
it too?
I think so.
Dude, that's
I think
awesome.
so. I will tell you, though, the book, not as cool. I didn't read it. I don't know.
I didn't read it.
I started to when I was in high school, and I was like, I just like the movie. You know what I liked about the movie? No reading involved.
That's why I don't like subtitles. There's no. Why do you watch? Okay, why would you watch a movie? Maybe it's just because I can only focus on whatever. But, dude, I'm not gonna watch a movie and read the subtitles. You know, like
Even if it's in a different language?
I just don't. I just don't watch it if it's in a different language.
Oh, dude, so you've never seen like Ong Bak?
Actually, you know what?
Or-
I've watched Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right? Not the
Yeah.
David Bowie one, but the
That's Labyrinth.
Labyrinth, the one with the eyes. This guy, dude, that was sick. That was a dope movie.
Yeah.
Dude, talk about scary.
Yeah, I mixed those two movies up. I told you that, right? Where I like sat through the whole fucking movie and I was like,
Yes.
man, I didn't see David Bowie one time.
dude, David Bowie.
And I still haven't seen it. I still haven't seen the David Bowie one.
Dude, me either. That one looks trippy, dude. You know what? We should get high and watch that. That would be fun.
That would be awesome.
That would be dope.
That would be pretty cool. Hell yeah, man.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're towards the end of tonight, you guys. This has been fun. All right. So I guess we already talked about what's coming up next. We just had a couple people join, so I guess we'll just say it again. But yeah, we're going on SOR Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott and a bunch of other awesome people tomorrow night for a roundtable. Stay tuned to that. And then possibly on Sunday, another roundtable with Band of Bearded Brothers, Bob, the Bob podcast, and What If Tomorrow. So stay tuned, you guys. We're on Twitter. We like update stuff now.
We do tweets.
We do twats, dude. So that's pretty cool.
That's plural for tweet.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. Yeah, anything else?
I think that's it, man.
Dope. Dude, that was fun, man.
That was a lot of fun. I liked having them on.
Yeah.
Alt Pop Repeat.
Yeah.
Check them out.
Yeah.
They also do other stuff independent of Alt Pop Repeat.
Yeah.
But their interviews are really cool.
So cool. Awesome ladies, awesome people. I mean, geez, the wealth of knowledge and just ideas that we got out tonight was just awesome, man. I think I've got to meditate on some ideas that were posed, so I'm going to be listening back. But yeah, you guys check out Alt Pop Repeat. Chrissy and Marie, I mean, they're just awesome. They've got some awesome interviews, and their website's really cool too. So they've got all their their episodes on there as well.
Definitely.
And that is altpoprepeat.com. Sweet.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, guys.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Hey, check us out. Subscribe on our YouTube, guys. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That would be awesome. Let's get more people in here. We're gonna have a good time. More people in the chat. I think
Shooting for 1,000.
Yeah, I think 60% of the people that watch our videos are not subscribed. So, guys, subscribe. Why not? But yeah, our goal is to get to 1,000 subsubscribers. That would be dope.
You don't even have to turn the bell on.
Yeah,
to notify you, when we come out with stuff. Just subscribe.
Don't turn the blocking on. What is it called? What did we said it earlier in the podcast? The bell, like the German word for bell.
The Glocklin.
The
Glocker.
Don't turn it on. Just subscribe. Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, peace. Let's do music. And here we go.